Welcome, welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me. Welcome to the Vault Excel. Um, this commentary that you're about to hear is pertaining to a little girl that went missing from the East Coast, upper state, New Hampshire, a few years back. Harmony Montgomery. I never discussed her on this network, but I was up last night and into the morning, and I was curious to court information. So I kind of wanted to listen to the court TV segments while I drift off to sleep. That's kind of what I do. I listen to true crime to go to bed. Not the best idea, but nonetheless, that's what I've done as of late. So I decided to do a live stream pertaining to the said information pertaining to Kayla Montgomery, Adam Montgomery, and few people who have testified, and the failure to secure proper care for the said child, because I think it's obvious that once again, we have a child who slipped through the cracks, being in the custody of drug users and being shuffled around and being abused, eyewitnesses to the abuse, and then later the unaliving of a said child, and no one coming forward to say that the child was murdered. We're going to go from the start up until what is transpiring in court. They're currently in court right now, and I may possibly come back at a later date. But I just want to talk about the start of it all, because every story has a start, not a middle, not an ending, but a start. And she had a start. And as I said, she was failed miserably. And you can't expect to get an answer from the state. That's like talking to yourself. So you'll hear commentary pertaining to what the state did. That's only years later. To me, it doesn't even matter at that point, because she was already deceased. And while you're posting all these things about her and billboards and so on and so forth, she was already gone. And the people who knew she was gone refused to tell anyone of her whereabouts. And that's expected. Let's start at the beginning, everybody. Thank you for joining me. If you'd like to donate to this great network, $ Big Angie, 129. Cash App, stickers, and chats are most welcome during the live stream. Let's start at the beginning of how this child came to be unalived by the father, and with aid and help with the wife then, Kayla Montgomery, who he is still married to this day. 10 Boston is the source.
Without a trace, what happened to Harmony Montgomery?
Until somebody tells me otherwise, this investigation is geared towards as if Harmony is still alive.
Tonight, new details uncovered, showing the red flags raised and a mother's plea for help before this little girl was reported missing.
It's a question so many people are wondering right now. How does a 7-year-old girl vanish for 2 years? Tonight, a number of 911 calls shedding new light on the home where Harmony was last seen. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us at 11. I'm Shannon Malaire.
And I'm Glenn Jones. This is the girl's mother, begged, pleaded for help in emails with this subject line: "My daughter is missing or in danger, and DCYF won't help." Let's get right to NBC 10's Eli Rosenberg in Manchester. Eli, tell us about the new developments today.
Well, Harmony's mother has told us she pleaded for help finding her daughter for city officials. These emails show just that. Now, as for the 911 calls, 13 in all over a 5-month period, ending in November 2019. That is when police say they can last account for Harmony. And tonight, her family is reacting to all of it.
She was always smiling. Always, just all the time.
The family of 7-year-old Harmony Montgomery hoping for answers tonight as the investigation into her disappearance enters its 3rd week.
This is just a nightmare, legit nightmare. I never thought I would be sitting here over the last couple weeks talking about this.
New emails just released show Harmony's mother begging city officials for help in late December, saying Harmony, who lived with her father, was not enrolled in school, and was missing important doctor's appointments. Montgomery's mother recently telling us she last saw her daughter on Easter in 2019.
If you can see me and you can hear me, I want you to know that I never stopped looking for you.
In a news conference this afternoon, Manchester's police chief saying detectives are busy chasing down some 300 leads. Earlier this week, police wrapping up a search of the house where the 7-year-old was last seen. As newly released records show police responding to that house 13 times from June until November 2019. Those calls ranging from a loose dog to a neighbor calling worried about a young child. It is not clear if that child was Harmony. Police have said November 2019 is the last time they can account for Montgomery.
And I will stand behind the work of this police department that led us up to 12/27, and I stand even firmer behind it from 12/27 to today.
Montgomery's dad and stepmom are both in jail, but neither have been charged in connection with Harmony's disappearance.
This is heart-wrenching. It is. I just can't believe this has happened, period.
I mentioned Harmony's dad and stepmother remain in jail. The police chief making a point of saying this afternoon, if either want to talk to detectives, no matter the time or day, they are willing to listen, and the reward right now stands at $104,000. Live in Manchester, Eli Rosenberg, NBC 10 Boston.
This is such an important story, Eli. Thank you for bringing us up to date. We want to show you this as well. If you or anyone you know has any information on this case, call or text the number on your screen. We also have this information on our website, NBC10Boston.com.
All right, everybody. Okay. 10 Boston is the source. Happy Love Day, everyone. Queen forgot. Thank you. Thank you, Chris. Thank you all so much. Happy Valentine's Day to the viewing audience. So you hear in this commentary, the mother was seeking help and trying to find her child, okay? But she didn't have custody of the child. We'll go into all of that as well. Why she didn't have custody. What happened? That short window of the father having custody of the child. You hear the uncle of Mr. Adam Montgomery speaking in this commentary. He also has testified to what he allegedly saw pertaining to the child, the abuse of the child. He told the court what he did following up pertaining to the abuse of the child. Easter is what she claims her last time talking to the child, FaceTime through Facebook Messenger. So now we have to ask the ultimate question. Why did Adam prohibit her from seeing the child? And the main questions I had before doing my little digging was, why did he stop contact with the mother? Okay? Who knew that the child was abused? Who saw the abuse and what did they do? We now get information that the uncle allegedly followed through with reporting it, telling other people. You're going to hear all of that. But why did he cut off contact with the mother? This is where I'm confused. So I'm trying to get my lighting together. You all know I do this every live, trying to get this lighting situated. It's a bad situation. So why did you cut off contact? I'm curious. Oh, 1 second, everybody. Thank you, Chris. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you for the donation. God bless you, sweetie. Thank you, such a sweetheart. Is it possible that she was being abused and this is why he didn't want her to be seen? Because that would make sense. I'm abusing the child. I don't care that my family members and other people around me are seeing that the child is abused, but I definitely don't want the bio mother to see that the child's got black eyes. She appears frightened, because you got to think about it. He's going to be in eyesight of the child while video chatting. And you hear the bio mother say, well, he was behind her, while I was speaking to her. Of course, because he wants to make sure that child doesn't say anything negative, nefarious of what he's been doing or what the child's been seeing, experiencing while in his care. I won't doubt that when she talked to the child last on that Easter 2019, that the child was possibly being abused at that time. because there has to be a reason why he blocked her on Facebook, why she's running around frantically trying to find him, going to the house, the last place where they live. Allegedly, she contacted the Kayla, the uncle, mothers, different people. What was the reason for the contact, the stopping of the contact? And I also wondered if she had any custodial rights as far as, not custodial rights, but like visitation. And then I later found out that was one of his charges, interference. So that means there had to be in place her having the right to see the said child. So we're going to ask why block her. Now, mind you, she didn't have her life together. You're going to hear that in testimony. She didn't have her life together. She's going back and forth, reuniting with the kid. Then at some point, lost the kid again. And that unfolds this drama we have right now. Child still hasn't been found, and no one's admitting to where she is. Okay? And you're entitled to believe whatever you want about where she is and who participated, didn't participate. I think it's obvious she was failed. That's obvious. That's not a question. The child was failed miserably. Let's go back in time. Thank you for joining me. 10 Boston is the source. Guess I might need to put on my extra eyes. Okay, everybody. This was uploaded January 12th, 2 years ago, 2022. New documents released an investigation into the disappearance of a 7-year-old New Hampshire girl revealed her mother's emailed pleas for help in getting answers about her daughter's whereabouts. Harmony Montgomery, hasn't been seen since October 2019. Manchester police announced an investigation on December 31st after Harmony was reported missing by her biological mother, Crystal Sorey, who does not have custody of the child. Sorey lost custody of the girl in 2018 as she struggled with substance abuse issues. She said that Harmony's father, Adam Montgomery, who had legal custody, blocked all contact. He was living in Manchester at the time. Harmony's mother begged for help in emails with the subject line, "My daughter is missing, in danger, DCYF," and that's the Department of Human Services in this location, won't help, that were sent to the Manchester mayor's office and obtained by NBC 10 Boston. The documents provided to NBC 10 Boston confirmed earlier messages Sorey shared with the station. Sorey said in the emails her daughter was never enrolled in school and missed important doctor's appointments while in the custody of her father. And I also like to know, how does she know that? Because if she didn't have custody, how would she know that the child was not going to the doctor? I found that strange. That's what made me think that she had to have some type of visitation rights or had to have some type of knowledge and intricacy into the custodial rights department, with the kid, because that's not something you would know. Now, if the child was in the state's care, she definitely would know when the child's supposed to go to the doctor, didn't go to the doctor, because she wouldn't have any rights. So obviously she had some type of rights to the child as far as visitation and supposed to have, I guess, knowledge of visits, doctor visits, so on and so forth. So once again, the child was never enrolled in school and missed important doctor's appointments while in the custody of her father. She noted that there is a Division of Children, Youth, and Families case, but claimed they had done nothing to help her get answers. Very interesting. So now we hear information that there was a case. So was that because she was complaining about non-compliance from the father? Please, I'm begging for help in finding my daughter before she ends up like that little boy that just passed away due to neglect from the department, ! Sorey wrote, apparently referring to the Elijah Lewis case. Manchester police had finally gotten back to me after a year and a half of reports to DCYF and filing a missing persons with them, Sorey wrote in a follow-up email. No one has been arrested in connection with Harmony's disappearance, but Adam Montgomery was arrested on charges including assault and failing to have Harmony in his custody. He pleaded not guilty. His wife, Kayla Montgomery, Harmony's stepmother, also faces charges. Now, remember, this is 2 years ago. In the case, she pleaded not guilty to initial charges brought against her. And you will find that interesting with what she's given in testimony from a couple of days ago pertaining to the case and, what happened to the child allegedly. That all along she knew everything, Kayla. And here you have this charge against her. And at that time, you got to remember, this is years ago. At that time, she's being arrested and still refused to give any information to the whereabouts of the child, knowledge of the child, what happened to the child. I always remember that now. Okay. Police reports obtained by NBC 10 Boston showed 29 calls for service to the Guilford Street home where Harmony was last known to live between 2018 and 20, including domestic incidents involving Adam Montgomery, Kayla Montgomery, and other adults in the home. That's strange because now when you say 218 to 220, allegedly they left that house if this is the house where the mortgage wasn't paid, this is strange. How would they be living there in 20? That's odd to me. I'll stand corrected if what I'm saying is not correct. Because she didn't move into that apartment until February of 2020. So that can't be the same address. This is weird to me. Once again, 2018 and 2020, including domestic incidents involving Adam Montgomery, Kayla Montgomery, and other adults in the home. Okay. So what are other reports of abuse by others in the house? Because we did learn there were several people living in the house, and you'll hear Kayla tell you that, I believe, during the trial, all these different entities of people who were living in the house. And why didn't any of them step in to stop the abuse? Because I refuse to believe only the uncle saw a black eye on a little girl. They moved in this house with other people. So I was supposed to believe before the house foreclosed, everybody had to get out. Nobody else saw an abused child. Just saying. Why didn't anybody intervene? Why wasn't somebody whooping his tail? Why wasn't somebody whooping Kayla's tail? Okay? Governor Chris Sununu was asked about the case at a news conference Wednesday, including the state's response. Anytime there's a critical case of a child, regardless of who that child is or the time, we always do an internal interview, and I've instructed DCYF to already start that process to understand if information was ever not transmitted or DCYF didn't respond to something, Sununu said. As far as that goes, I don't see them telling anybody because most Department of Human Services do not tell where they failed. So him saying this means nothing to me. I'm a realist. You'll come to learn that when you watch this network. I'm a realist. I don't sugarcoat very much or at all. Department of Human Services will never tell you they failed somewhere. They're never going to admit to wrongdoing, improprieties, lack of leadership, lack of responding. Made a gross mistake by putting a child back in the care of someone, taking a child out of care with unfounded allegations. Why would I do that? The worker's not going to do it. A supervisor is not going to do it. That's common sense. So to have him talk about transparency, you're only speaking of at that time when you got the case and the information got out that the woman was trying to find her kid. But we now know, hindsight is 2020. The child was already dead. So you're getting a case of a missing child who's already deceased. Okay? Were you going to own honestly to the public, yeah, this is where we failed her. We did fail her. Because frankly, we shouldn't have been passing her along to here, to here, to here, to here. Because we know the mother didn't have no business with her. And we now learn with the father's past, allegations of the child being abused by him in the house with eyewitnesses. You all didn't ever go knock on the door. It's BS. He added that he feels very confident that DCYF has done, I think, a good job of staying on top of the case, a good job of transmitting information, that they can transmit of working with the city of Manchester all the way back to November. See, it's BS. This is BS. Police finished their search of the last known residence of Harmony Montgomery on Monday. Officials say they continue to search for Harmony and presume she is still alive. A reward for information on Harmony's whereabouts, this is at this time, has reached 104,000. There's a dedicated tip line for the case, 603-203-6060. So he could only speak of at that time. Okay? But as I said, she was already gone. We now know this now with testimony from court. This is a baffling case. Let's hear from the mother at that time, what she was trying to find her child. Chris' birthday. Happy birthday, Chris. Sorry I wasn't looking in the chat. Trying to read this information.
First time. I have it on my side. Was first with the story.
Oh, wait 1 second, everybody.
The latest from Manchester, where a vigil was held tonight in Harmony's honor.
Sorry about that. Let me go back.
New developments tonight in the high-profile disappearance of Harmony Montgomery, the 7-year-old New Hampshire girl who hasn't been seen in more than 2 years. Tonight, her mother is speaking out for the first time. Our Michael Rosenfield was first with the story at 6. He has the latest from Manchester, where a vigil was held tonight in Harmony's honor.
Mother knows if her baby's here or not, so I know she's here.
Crystal Story feels her daughter is still alive. If she's listening to you right now, what do you want to say?
Hi, baby. If you can see me or you can hear me, I want you to know that I never stopped looking for you, and I won't stop fighting until I find you, okay? And you stay strong, and Mommy's right here fighting for you. I love you.
Crystal made her first public appearance and her first public comment since her daughter's mysterious disappearance made widespread headlines over the last week.
Okay.
She lit candles and said prayers with family and friends at a park in Manchester Saturday.
We just want her to know how much she's loved, and that we just want her to come home.
Crystal lost custody of her daughter Harmony Montgomery in 2018 as Crystal struggled with substance abuse issues. The last time she saw Harmony was over FaceTime around Easter 2019. After that, Crystal says Harmony's father, Adam Montgomery, who had legal custody, blocked all contact.
I've been begging for any type of answer since 2019. It's disgusting. Since Easter, when I had an Easter basket for her for over a year, I held on to that.
Crystal, who lives in Massachusetts, says she called New Hampshire schools, drove by homes associated with Adam, and made multiple calls to the Division of Children, Youth, and Families. Do you feel let down by DCYF?
Oh, yeah. They've let so many people down. My daughter was failed by everybody.
New Hampshire's Department of Health and Human Services has declined to comment on the case, citing confidentiality issues. Adam was arrested this past week and is facing several charges, including for failing to have Harmony in his custody. But he hasn't been linked to her disappearance. The last time Harmony can be accounted for, according to investigators, is late 2019.
To be honest, I feel like he sold her.
Crystal is asking for help from the public.
If you know anything about my baby, please, I'm begging you to come forward so she can come home.
Investigators have also been asking for people to call in with tips that could lead to Harmony's whereabouts. Right now, the reward money is up to over $90,000 in Manchester, New Hampshire. Michael Rosenfield, NBC 10 Boston.
And investigators were seen resuming their search today for the little girl at a home on Guilford Street. Police say they were focusing on one house in particular because, quote, it was the last location where Harmony was known to reside before her disappearance in 2019. If you have any information, you're asked to call Manchester Police.
So that was the mother speaking years ago pertaining to trying to find her child. She lost custody of the child 2018. She had substance abuse issues. Then you go into 2019, Easter 2019, last time talking to the child on the phone, FaceTime, through Facebook Messenger. And then obviously she was blocked. You're going to hear that. She tried. She's reached out to the mayor, Department of Human Services, emails. And then it took a year and a half later for somebody to finally decide to contact her about her missing child. Why is that? And that's just going to be hard to contact a person if they block you, don't answer the door, move around. And we learned this with this information from trial. They were moving around, living in shelters, sleeping in cars, chasing drugs. So that's going to be a problem right there. She's calling schools, the mother, going to schools, going by homes, nothing, which is strange. So that means she had to have had some dealings, proper dealings, in order to be going by schools. And they're telling her, oh, well, the child hasn't been to school, or she hasn't, she didn't, she was only 5 at the time. So school would have started that fall of 19. So perhaps the mother was going to schools then, because I didn't hear that she was in pre-K or anything. They were homeless by fall or winter 2019. So she wasn't going to be in anybody's school. Okay. And this using the restroom on herself, well, naturally, you're not in a house where you have access to a bathroom. Then if you're abusing the child, she's fearful, she would use the bathroom. And we learned that usually bedwetting, wetting of self in children usually comes from trauma. That is one of the signs of abuse of kids, okay? Is bedwetting. So you have to use deduction. We learned through court, she was potty trained when she went into the care of the father. The mother told the court, yes, I potty trained her. So why was the child using the restroom on herself? Well, like I said, they were sleeping in a car at the time of death. So go figure. Did they abuse the other children? Did the father abuse the other children by Kayla? I was curious to that. Or was this child the only one getting the brunt of the abuse? We hear allegations from the uncle. The child smothered the mouth of one of the children and the child was turning blue. So naturally, a parent would be enraged, upset that you have put your hands over the mouth of a child. But my goodness, you're going to beat the child almost to, and to unaliven her. And I understand. You're upset at the child. But you're supposed to tell the child, you don't do that. Don't cover the mouth of another child. So perhaps he carried hatred toward the child from that instance, allegedly, with her covering the mouth of the child, the other boy child. We also get information that the bio mother had another baby boy when she had gotten the girl back. Thought that was kind of odd. Where did that child go? I didn't hear them mention that in court in the little testimony I listened to. Well, where's that boy child? Because when you had to end up relinquishing custody of Harmony that second time, where did your boy child go? And do you have custody of him now? I'm curious. I'm going to say this before I get into the rest of these details and let you hear from the governor, that what I see in this case is what I see in all of the cases pertaining to children shuffled around in foster care and different homes and relatives' homes, is that one, the people who had the child didn't have any business procreating. Everyone makes mistakes. You don't know if you're going to be a good parent until you're in that role. But the point is, once you realize that you cannot fit the bill, it's not working for you, no matter what you're going through, drug use, alcohol, don't have a place to stay, mental issues, postpartum, whatever it is, you should take the adult route and place the child somewhere. Now, naturally, in placing the child elsewhere does not mean the child will get a fair shake. Old saying, out of sight, out of mind. But there's no need in you abusing the child or putting the child in a situation where he or she can be abused. And what you see in this case here, when you go back in the book of life, the mother was an addict, the father was an addict. Don't you find that interesting that both parents were drug users? And then you later find out he gets with another young lady by the name of Kayla. She's a drug user. They're riding around, sleeping in a car after being evicted. And the only thing they can think about is getting high with small children in the back seat of their car. That's Sebring. Mercy, the stories that car could tell. That shelter. The house on Guilford Street, that apartment she got after coming out of the shelter. If the walls could talk, I think they all would cry. It's very disturbing, but it goes back to what I say all the time about these cases. They're all eerily similar. It doesn't matter if they're white, black, Mexican, Jew, Arab. They're all the same. Have you not noticed that? It's always somebody who had a kid. It didn't work out. They couldn't fit the bill. And then poof, poof, poof. State, mama, daddy, sister, cousin over here. And now child's missing. And nobody knows where the child is. But everybody's going about their life Everybody's still geeking, getting high, drinking, getting drunk, turned up, going to jail, but don't nobody know where the child is. 2 people get arrested eventually for fraud. She gets arrested, Kayla, for food stamp fraud. He's arrested for not having custody rights of the child and interference with custody of the child. Oh, she's with the mother. So when you first hear this story, you're in your mind, you're thinking, oh, Lord, here we go. I don't know what to believe. Is it these parents? Is it the biological mother? Who has her? And the sad part of while she's calling all this time to these different people about her child, she didn't have her life together still either. You're talking about years of the bio mother getting her life together in searching and calling about the child. Because I don't think she was in no better place in 2019 to get the child back if he had the child and decided to want to give the child back to her. And that's something I don't understand either. You saw it wasn't working, Adam. Why didn't you try to tell the mother, look, I can't do it either. So one of us needs to take this child and put her somewhere. Either I put her somewhere or you come get her. So I find that interesting why you don't want to give her back. Why didn't you call the mother and say, hey, do you have your life together? Are you still using drugs? Because I'm still getting high. Me and my wife, we are avid users. And we can't do nothing with her. She's a 4th, 5th wheel. But of course not. He wasn't going to do that. So why didn't he hand his child to his mother, grandmother, or somebody else? See, I always find that interesting in these stories of nobody wanting to do the right thing and say, well, you've handed me the baton, but I ain't fit either. So let me go call the state, my mama, somebody. Where were her parents? The bio mother's parents. It seems like I'm repeating the same information on a different child. All the stories always start back with the bio parents. And a lot of people don't like you saying anything about the bio parents, but I don't care. You know I don't care. Because it starts with them. This isn't just a fluke, happenstance, baby born in a cabbage patch. No, she came out of an actual human being who at 3 months couldn't take care of her. That's deep, 3 months. You didn't even give yourself a chance to try to say, I can't take care of the kid. 3 months because you're a user. So then I have to ask myself, well, were you using when you were pregnant? How do you give up a baby at 3 months? Because you were probably using. And that might be why the child had eye trouble. And I also did a little research about that. Different reasons the child had the blindness in the one eye, allegedly. Did you know that your child can become blind from syphilis? We've learned with people who've had syphilis, such as Mr. Al Capone. He died of syphilis. For those who did not know that, okay? Genetical reasons a child can become blind, and also infections in the mother. So who's to say that the mother didn't have something going on with her girlfriend or genetics, father genetics, because both of them wore glasses, okay? You look at a Facebook post where he and his daughter were on a picture where he's talking about he loves his daughter in 17 or whatever it was, or later. Oh, I love my baby. But it's the same baby that you beat to death. Ask yourself, how in the world do we keep hearing the same stories? Photographs, selfies, videos. I love my baby. But it's the same baby that you would beat and abuse or allow others to beat and abuse your children. They're lying on a trampoline, if I'm not mistaken. And if anyone saw that photo, they would say, oh, he loved his baby. But now you later find out through Kayla, that's the same baby he beat. And 9 times out of 10 with an open fist, he hit that child till she succumbed to the punches. I want you to think about that now. You see, as I keep saying, All the stories are eerily similar. They have a star, and it starts with the people who brought them here. They weren't born on Mars. They weren't born in the cabbage patch. They weren't born in the cornfield. They came by the womb of a female. And then she was, a baby came from a sperm donor. What do you expect? Just a shuffling of a child like cards. That's what you hear here pertaining to this girl child. Shuffling. Let's hear from the governor at that time. Thank you for joining me.
Every stone we can to hopefully bring harmony home safe. There's still a lot of hope that is possible. There's still a lot of unknowns. From the day one of this process, the state has been very clear that we were going to be very transparent about every piece of information that we can be transparent about. This is an active case, so there are a lot of things. I know it can be frustrating for the public, but there's a lot of things that we're simply not allowed to say because of confidentiality provisions and whatnot. So we feel that frustration. We'd love to just open up the books, but that's not fair to the individuals involved. There's still a lot of unknowns out there, and again, we have to be very cognizant of that. That being said, anytime there is a critical case of a child, regardless of who the child is or the time, we always do an internal review. I've instructed DCYF to already start that process, right? To do that understanding of, not just where were we in this specific case, but was there any point where information wasn't being transmitted? Was there any point where we hit a roadblock or didn't respond to something or anything like that? Right now, I feel very confident that DCYF has done, I think, a good job of staying on top of the case, a good job of transmitting the information that they can transmit, working with the city of Manchester all the way back to November. I mean, I think that somebody had said in late December that they had just, started working with the state in late December. That's not true. They were working with the state back in November. For months, we've been working with the city of Manchester on this. And as soon as we found out that this child may not have been showing up for school for quite some time, it was reported up to us. The team got right on it. There wasn't a delay. It didn't sit in a file on somebody's desk. They moved right on it, which I give them credit for. And obviously the search starts. But to the heart of your question is about transient families, right? You have to understand this is a dad and a daughter and maybe a stepmom or whatever it might be with individuals that were not just here in New Hampshire. They were in Massachusetts for a while. They were may have been working with that system for a while. So again, transient families can create a lot of confusion, but it doesn't relinquish your responsibility to follow up on everything you possibly can. And I think DCYF is just pulling out every stop they can to make it happen. So, but we're doing an internal review as we always do. And if there's anything to be found and learned from it, of course we'll bring that to bear and change any processes that need to be changed. But I think they're doing a very good job putting all hands on deck on this one.
10 Boston. That was Chris Sununu at the time, the governor, giving his assertion of the state helping and being transparent pertaining to getting on the case and helping find harmony at that time. But once again, she was already deceased. You fast forward now, you learn she was already deceased. So whatever you were doing at that time, and you're sitting here talking about there were no files sitting on a desk. Well, a file was sitting somewhere before you got a hold of it and got involved, Mr. Sununu, because the mother said she was calling different entities, even the mayor, emailing the state and workers and family members and the father to no avail. And I get it. You can't chase a demon around into thin air. You don't even know where they at. Okay, where they are. I get it. But you're never going to tell us who went out footwork to go try to find Adam. Are you going to tell us, or did you tell the world? Yes, we sent a worker out on this day, the summer of 19 and fall 19. Have you ever released to the public that you sent a state worker, investigator, somebody out to those houses, locations, wherever you thought he was? Did you even put out any type of bolo warrant out to find them for interference with the custodial rights? That's what I want to hear. Telling me what you did when you finally heard about it. You're speaking of at that time. We want to know what you did what the workers did back when the woman was calling spring up until winter of 19. That's still a long stretch. She's reaching out to DHS, nothing. Okay? She's going to the schools. See, somebody should have been putting out, I guess, a warrant or something to try to find them if the kid wasn't enrolled in school. So, see, this is still BS. You could have did a news broadcast. Hey, we're looking for these parents right here to have custody of this little girl. The mother doesn't have custody, but she's hearing from the school system and different people that, they're being blocked and nobody has contact. We're just worried about the safety of this little girl. This is why I'm telling you, all this is bullshit. If she's been calling since spring of 2009 up until fall, you all could have done a news alert about the little girl missing. Anybody know these people? Well, we're looking for them. Okay? We're looking for them. If you know about their whereabouts, could you please tell us? Oh, here's a make of their car. They were in that car for some time up until Thanksgiving. You could have put a news alert out about the car. So this is bullshit. This is what I tell you to look for. The cracks. The cracks in the information. The cracks in the story. If DHS knew the woman had rights to the little girl, visitation rights, there was interference. She thought that something was wrong. You later find out when fall comes, she's not enrolled in a school or in the school district of where she was supposed to be living at that time, then you all should have put some information out to the police department that there needed to be a welfare check concern for the little girl. And once you went and checked those places and didn't see the people living in those places, you found out the house was overturned by the bank or however it went, or whoever owned the damn house. You mean to tell me you didn't know none of the people that lived at the house that you could have found and found any of them to track them down? Hey, where's Pookie? Hey, where's Adam? Hey, where's Kayla? Hey, where are the other children? Then you go to the school. Hey, do you have a child here by this name? No, we don't. Never enrolled? No. Okay, now we go to the doctor. Hey, when was the last time you saw the child? Oh, she hasn't been here in such and such time. So then you go ahead and put out a formal a bolo or whatever for the parents in the car. The car had to been registered. You want me to believe they were driving around with a car with expired tags? This could have been avoided. So long as she wasn't in the state's care, to where the mother didn't have no rights to information about her, you all could have found them because they were sleeping around wide open. So miss me with the, they moved to Massachusetts and this, and this. Well, from spring up until fall, they were in New Hampshire, from my understanding. They were sleeping in a car in the dead of winter, in winter. So you could have put something out on the car itself. Okay, they've been put out. They don't have anywhere to stay. We're running their names. We don't see that they're in subsidized housing or have a voucher anywhere. Then you should have put a make out on the car. This is BS. The father. How would a father have gotten custody of the child with this poor background, nefarious background? This is where you all messed up here. Before the unaliving of a child. Union leader is the source. How did Adam Montgomery get custody of this baby? Let's look at a picture of them in an alleged happier time. This was posted to Facebook May 22nd, 2017. At this time, he was currently jailed, charged with assaulting arising from a blow to Harmony's face because somebody finally went forth and told he hit the child. It says a blow to Harmony's face in 2019. The girl was last seen around Thanksgiving of that year. So that picture I just showed you was from Facebook. In May 2017, Adam Montgomery updated his profile picture on Facebook. He and his young daughter, Harmony, were jumping on a trampoline. The almost 3-year-old had her hair blonde had her blonde hair tied up. She wore pink glasses and a matching t-shirt that read love. The photograph captured the father-daughter moment with Harmony's little feet several inches in the air, her arms reaching toward the sky and her smile stretching ear to ear. Montgomery is beaming too. My beautiful baby girl, I love you so much, Montgomery wrote in a post dated May 22nd, 2017. Records show Montgomery has a lengthy and violent criminal history. In a letter to the Massachusetts court officials this week, Governor Chris Sununu called Montgomery a monstrous drug dealer and horrible individual. I will now read to you his violent past. The same person who got custody of Harmony in the first place. On December 31st, 2021, police found Montgomery sleeping in his car in the area of Harvell Street in Manchester. They asked where Harmony was. Say that again, Queen. December 31st, 2021. At this point, they're now looking for him for formal charges against him for abuse of the child, interfering with custody. So why this couldn't have been done in 2019? Say it again, Queen. This is 2 years later, 2.5 years later, from actual complaints made by the mother. So if she had rights to the child, you should have been looking for him any damn way before you even knew he had been beating the baby up. Okay? So I would tell you, pay attention to the details. This is bad. Hold on one second. Get my bearings. Sorry about that. So he's found sleeping in a car by authorities on Harvell Street, Manchester. He first said he had seen her recently and she was fine. Then he contradicted himself, saying he hadn't seen her since Thanksgiving 2019. More than 2 years earlier, he claimed Harmony was in Massachusetts with her mother. So now he's lying on the mother to say the mother had the child. He refused to answer further questions, telling officers, I have nothing else to say and not talking to you. Sori previously told police she hadn't seen her daughter since Easter 2019 FaceTime call. Crystal stated that Adam was visible in the background of the video call, an affidavit read. Crystal recalled that Harmony seemed frightened and believes that was the last time she actually saw her daughter. Sori said she's frantically trying to find her daughter after becoming sober. She said both she and Montgomery have had issues with substance abuse. Two parents use it. On January 4th, 2022, Montgomery, 31, was arrested at 8:34 p.m. on a warrant for one charge of felony second-degree assault arising from a blow to Harmony's face in 2019. He also was charged with a misdemeanor charge of interference with custody and 2 misdemeanor counts of endangering the welfare of a child. So arrested in December 21, 2.5 years later, 2 years after she is unalived. Ask yourself, how does this make any sense? If you can find him sleeping in a car from these warrants that say, okay, he hit the child, he's interfering with custody, where was the fortitude to do it 2 years before, 2+ years before, for the interference? If the woman had rights to see her child, why was somebody not looking for him then? Okay? Stay woke. Allegedly, the uncle went and told and called DHS on him. So why nobody could put out information to find him for abusing the child? Nobody could say, well, yeah, he lives over here. Here's a phone number. So now you got to ask this question. They never kept the phone. But when you hear testimony from Kayla in court, I don't even think they kept cell phones or cell phones with an actual running number. I don't know. So here we go. Interference with custody and 2 misdemeanor counts of endangering the welfare of a child. January 4th, 2022, arrested 8:34 p.m. on a warrant. The police log lists the Manchester police station's address as the place of arrest. Details on where he was located were not included. Adam's uncle, Kevin, reported seeing Harmony with a black eye in 2019 and said his nephew claimed he bashed her around the house. This is the same uncle that you hear giving testimony in court days ago. It's a perplexing case. Where is Harmony? Why has she been missing for 2 years? Great question. The search for the little girl who would be 7 continues. This is then. A reward for information leading to her whereabouts has topped at $144,000. A dedicated tip line 603-203-6060. It is manned 24/7. I don't know if it's still manned now because this was from a couple years ago. Major run-in as a minor. Montgomery's run-ins with the law started as a minor in 2006 when he was 16 and living on Donald Street in Bedford. He was charged with possession of a dangerous weapon on school grounds, according to the Union Leaders Archives. July 27, 2007, Montgomery was accused of following a 15-year-old girl into her home on Plainfield Street after shouting that the girl had stolen his cell phone. He was charged with burglary, misdemeanor, simple assault, and the case was dismissed in January 2008. Why was it dismissed? 2007, September. Bedford police charged Montgomery with criminally threatening his 15-year-old former girlfriend. So we go from July 7th, messing with a 15-year-old girl, bothering her, burglary, misdemeanor, simple assault. That case was dismissed January 2008. But then we go back, same year of the 2007, where he was messing with the girl in July. It says he was charged with criminally threatening a 15-year-old former girlfriend from Manchester with a knife. He was sentenced to 110 days, according to court documents. So was this the same girl from July? Or no, I'm confused. Because in July 2007, he's accused of following a 15-year-old girl in her home on Plainfield Street, shouting that the girl had stolen his cell phone. But it was dismissed in January 2008. But then when we go back to 2007, 2 months after that July incident of him following a 15-year-old girl into a house, he was sentenced to 110 days in jail according to court documents. So that means that's two different incidents. So he liked 15-year-old girls at the time. This is strange to me. July 2007, he's following a 15-year-old, and that case was dismissed in January 2008. But then when you fast forward in that same year now, if you're following me, 2 months later in September, he threatened a former girlfriend with a knife and got 110 days in jail. So he has some stalker tendencies. May 2008, he's 18 years old. This is months after that one incident was dismissed in that January 2008 with the girl he was trying to follow in the house, if you're following me. So May of 2008, he's 18 at the time. He was charged with stabbing a youth in the leg and pushing him out of a moving vehicle near Bridge and Belmont Streets in Manchester. Police prosecutor Lieutenant Robert Cooner said the incident resulted from a drug ripoff in which Montgomery believed he was sold fake drugs. Cooner called the combination of weapons and narcotics a recipe for disaster, according to Union Leader's story. Now, if you go back in life, people could say, well, he was getting into mischief, this, and this, but he shows he has a propensity for violence. He has a propensity to get a weapon and use a weapon. And one would say, if you're not doing certain things, you don't have to worry about having a weapon. You don't have to worry about defending yourself. So everybody knows that once you're buying drugs, selling drugs, anything could jump off. Okay? There you have it. Montgomery said he would have no trouble with the condition of his $25,000 cash corporate surety bail, forbidding contact with the victim. I don't know who the kid is, Montgomery said. So what? You were buying drugs from a guy that you didn't know. So you stabbed him in the leg because he allegedly gave you bad drugs. In New Hampshire alone, Montgomery has 21 items listed in his criminal case history. His most violent crimes occurred in Massachusetts. In 2014, Montgomery was charged with shooting a Haverhill, Massachusetts man in the head after coming over the state line to buy drugs, according to the published reports. Now, mind you, the child was born in 2014 of the girl child, Harmony. Stay woke now. In that case, Montgomery pleaded guilty to larceny from a person, assault and battery with a dangerous weapon, carrying a firearm without a license, and discharging a firearm within 500 feet of a building in September 2014. According to the ex-Massachusetts District Attorney's Office, he was sentenced to 18 months in jail. If I'm not mistaken, the girl child was born in June of 14. So that means July, August, September, he's already discharging a weapon and got 18 months in jail. So that means he wasn't even around for the little girl growing up. Stay woke. She's born in June 14, if I'm not mistaken. And then he's going to jail September 14. So he's nowhere around for the child. the formative years for the child. She was only 5 when she died. So a person with this violent past gets custody of her. So you want me to believe the state did not do any background check on the father? So how did it work? So was she placed in the state's care that second time and then he stepped up or he was called? I'm confused because I have not followed this case. So I'm this is strange. Okay, here we go. Now, 18 months in jail for that assault. In 2008, Montgomery was convicted in a robbery where he burst into a Malden apartment and demanded money from 2 women at gunpoint, according to the Boston Globe. He also pointed a gun later determined to be a pellet gun at an officer's chest. He pleaded guilty to armed robbery, assault and battery with a dangerous weapon, according to the Globe. Harmony's father is a monstrous drug dealer with previous convictions, including shooting someone in the head and a separate armed attack on 2 women in Massachusetts, Sununu wrote in his January 18th letter. Harmony was born June 14th. So now we have this information. As I just said, June 2014, months later, the father is getting sentenced for assaulting someone with a gun. He's also shot someone in the head. So you got him busting in apartments, shooting someone in the head in a drug deal. This is the child's father. This is the chemical makeup of this child. So I'm going to say it again. How did he get custody of the girl? Born in June 2014, Sori lost custody of Harmony in 2018 because of drug addiction. So that would have been, I guess, going into 4 years or so. Montgomery also had 3 children with his estranged wife, Kayla Montgomery. Montgomery gained sole custody of Harmony in February of 2019. Write that down. February 2019. So this is crazy. So he got her in February. So you got March, April. Easter's in April. So how is it 2 months in, not 2 months in, he stops contact with the mother? Are y'all hearing this? So he didn't even have her long. The mother only had her a few years, back and forth, dealing with the state and this reunification program she was in, because she lost custody of her at 3 months old. The baby was just 3 months old when the mother got rid of her the first time. And then down the road, she gets it back. And then now she's with the father. Don't you see the pattern? And he didn't have her but 2 months before he blocked the mother. Why would you be blocking the mother after 2 months of getting custody of the child? And you also hear the mother say, I don't know what I did for him to cut me off, him and Kayla. So why did you all cut her off? Why did you all block her? I'm curious. So here we go. He got sole custody of her in February 2019. The family members are Kayla. Last reported seeing the little girl around Thanksgiving that year, I guess along with these 3 children that he has with Kayla. Kayla Montgomery was arrested the day after Adam Montgomery and charged with theft for allegedly collecting food stamps for Harmony, even though the girl was not living with her. So that was one of his charges, not having custodial of the whole child. He couldn't produce her. She got arrested for food stamp fraud. Kayla Montgomery's mother, Christina Lubin, filed a restraining order against Montgomery after he showed up at her Dubuque Street address and lingered outside at 7:45 p.m. on July 2nd, 2021. Neighbors saw him knock on the window at the front of the home, according to the complaint. On July 4th, 2021, Lubin's boyfriend found a steak knife on the ground near Montgomery, was seen tapping on the glass. So what was he going to do with the knife? Oh, Lord. Kayla Montgomery and her 3 children were temporarily staying at the home due to domestic violence on her from her husband, Adam Montgomery, according to the complaint. The 4 had been living with Lubin since March 21st, 2021. Now, this is years later and after the incident of them moving around, shuffling around from home to home, what I'm trying to say, the shelters. You got to remember the child died November, right at Thanksgiving, 19. So here we got, they all were living with the mother, her mother, March 2021. That's not even 2 years yet. Year and a half. Baby dead. Y'all moving around fighting, going place to place, shelter cars, all this crazy nonsense. I just give up. Safety for all involved is our main concern, she wrote in the request for a restraining order. The restraining order was dismissed on September 8th, 2021 because of failure to ask for an extension. So see, here we go. The back and the forth, the back and the forth. Up and down, beating dead baby, carrying a dead baby around. And now it's time to go to court to say, hey, you still need an extension on this restraining order. Well, that means nobody showed up. So the mother's putting the restraining order out on the father while her daughter and the kids are staying there. And then here we go in the fall of 2021, right before this gets jumped off. No follow-up. Lubin spoke with reporters at her home in Dubuque Street, on Dubuque Street, the day her daughter went before a judge. Adam, for the first couple of years, was some sweet guy, and he's not. Lubin said, he's pure evil. He is pure evil. Kayla Montgomery told police Adam had been living in a sober home and left the area to live in Maine with another woman. Adam Montgomery remains in jail without bail. Kayla Montgomery has a new bail hearing set for Monday. This is years ago. A disposition conference is set for Adam Montgomery March 4th. I'm bringing you this information to give you a background of how all this came to be, that this child was missing and living in abusive houses and being born to a drug-addicted mother. A father's on drugs. The father then gets with another woman, marries her, Kayla. She's a drug addict, sleeping in cars, evictions, shelters. It was a bad mix, and it usually is. This is by the Union Leader, uploaded January 19, 2022, if you need verification. As I said before at the beginning of this live stream, on 1 hour in, you have all of this because of addiction. People who are wayward, people who didn't have no business having no children. And I'm going to say this about the bio mother. She didn't deserve to have the kid. The father didn't deserve to have the kid. How many times would you keep going before the court and going back and forth wrangling with him getting the kid? So was the kid placed with Adam through the courts, or she just physically gave him the kid? I haven't gotten information on that yet. Because as I said, I never kept up with this story when it first jumped off, because I really don't like talking about children's stories. But I was curious to the court TV segment of the trial from days ago, and I just decided to watch it late in the morning, in the wee hours, and it piqued my interest. And as I started listening, I already knew what I was going to hear. Not as far as the details with the little girl and her demise, but I knew it was a bad start with the mother, because I do remember that vaguely years ago, that the mother didn't have custody and that he got custody. And now we see he didn't even have her but 2 months before he blocked the mother, which is very strange to me. And then we go into spring, summer, fall, winter. She's unalived right at Thanksgiving. And everybody's playing peekaboo and not telling authorities, hey, the daughter has a black eye. Let me tell you this, and I have said this to people so many times in dealing with children and abuse and child neglect. Stop calling DHS. You want something done immediately pertaining to the abuse of a child, neglect of a child, you call the police department. The uncle running and telling everybody, oh, she got a black eye. Oh, she got a black eye. You know what you should have done? You should have walked right out that fucking house and called 911 and said, hey, there's a little girl there, a little blonde-haired little girl, 5 years old. She has a black eye. The father has been beating her, and he told me he was throwing her around the house because she put her hand over the mouth of the little boy, or he didn't have to tell any of that. If he was scared that the nephew might want to retaliate, he could have just said, yeah, I just saw a kid in there. She's abused. She got a black eye. Left it alone. Dropped the phone. End of story. Do you see what I'm saying? You don't call DHS on no black eye. For what? To wait to see if somebody's going to show up? Well, you see what happened, don't you? Everybody's in the street, living pillar to post, sleeping in cars in the fucking winter. And now this child has been beat to sleep by her father. Where's the justice? This all could have been alleviated had somebody followed through with the mother's complaints. Number one. Number two, when the uncle called DHS, he should have bypassed DHS and called the police. The moment you saw her eye, you should have grabbed your nephew by the collar and put some whoop ass on him. How about that? Then you call 911 to say, can you come pick up my nephew because I just whooped his tail because he's been beating up a little girl. This story would be possibly not where it is. Perhaps this little girl would have went to another better home and the shuffling of Harmony Montgomery would have stopped. But when you see physical violence, there's no need in calling DHS. You call the police because the police is usually the jump off to calling DHS after the fact. They will call DHS once they assess the situation in the house. So the uncle and the other relatives should have called the police. I would have called DHS once I saw the black eye. I'm not going to go waste my time on no 911, on no damn 1-800 number. And let me tell you, it's a rigorous process calling a 1-800 number on somebody about child abuse and neglect. Trust me. You call police. You see the actual abuse, you call the police. I would not waste my time with DHS. Because this girl might be alive today had the uncle and the other relatives went and called directly. If Kayla had got off her lazy ass and said, I've had enough of this. He's abusive. Things aren't working out. I need a stable place to live. This relationship is faulty. She rode that donkey ride all the way to the very end. And that's my feelings about her. That had she not been arrested, went to jail for that fraud, she would have never turned on Adam. And she possibly would have ended up where Harmony ended up. The fact that he threatened her because he thought she was telling on him. That should have been her wake-up call as well, to run like hell and get her kids out of the way. She had many opportunities to leave him before they both got arrested. And as I said, she rode this donkey ride because she had these sick feelings for him. And then I started reading, she was still holding on to him at the very end, wanting to see him after everything had come out. One last hurrah with the baby killer. Come on now. At what point do you say, I've got to get it together? Now, you want to be in an abusive relationship, that's your choice. But when you involve children, you have to say to yourself, I've got to put my feelings aside for this sick bastard and get the hell out of Dodge and get my children out of Dodge. She didn't do that. You can listen to the testimony and weigh it how you see fit. But at some point, you see she rode this ride to the very end. She did not care about herself, her children, or Harmony. Let me make that clear. Because she only talked to authorities when it was affecting her livelihood. And that shows intent to deceive, to cover up, conspire. I'm not going to say anything. Oh, I'm going to be in jail? Oh, I'll talk now. That's all I was waiting to see with the testimony. Once I realized her livelihood was in jeopardy, and that is the only time when she spoke about this death of a child, that's when I knew she would have never said anything. She would have got beat to death herself had she not been arrested for the fraud. Let's hear from the mother, the bio mother of the said child. Thank you for joining me. Welcome to the Vault XL. Thank you all so much for tuning in. What a mess. What a mess. Okay. Hot butter mess, everybody. Hot butter mess. Thank you for listening. Hello, everybody in the chat. Your last
name's Crystal Renee Sorey. CrystalSorey.
And Miss Sorey, what town do you live in?
I live in Fitchburg, Massachusetts.
How long have you lived there?
A year and 5 months.
And how far did you go in school?
I didn't graduate high school.
Okay. I'd like to ask you about a specific day, June 7th, 2014. What significance, if any, does that day have for you?
That's the day my daughter Harmony was born.
And Harmony was a girl, correct?
Yes.
Have you had any other daughters besides Harmony?
No.
And what was her full name?
Harmony Renee Montgomery.
Same middle name as you?
Yes.
Okay. What was her medical condition when she was born?
She was blind in her right eye. She was misdiagnosed twice before that. Just blind in her right eye.
And after about 3 months after she was born, who did she go to live with?
Michelle Rafferty.
And do you know Michelle?
Very well.
Why did she go to live with Michelle?
I am a recovering drug addict. I was struggling at the time, handling her diagnosis. I was struggling.
Is it fair to say that who you are now in 2024 is different than who you were in 2014?
Very.
In March of 2016, were you able to obtain custody of Harmony again?
Yes.
Okay. Where did the two of you live?
First, when she reunified, I was at Casa Esperanza in Roxbury.
So this is where you hear the child taken at 3 months. She said her diagnosis is what caused her to use drugs. Don't know if that's true or not. As I said, so early on, getting high with a 3-month-old, I'm wondering if she used drugs before the little girl that she, before she gave birth. Because see, there's certain things I've learned about true crime and testimonies. I'm only going to tell you what I think you should know. I'm not going to tell you everything. And I think Caleb possibly did a little fudging of stuff. But who's to say this woman wasn't getting high when she met that boyfriend, baby daddy? I don't think they really had anything really going on special. I think they're just two people who met, had sex. She just so happened to get pregnant, because you learn it wasn't really anything between the two. You understand what I'm saying? So it's a jacked up situation. It's a very jacked up situation. He wasn't there, and then all of a sudden you give him custody because you're going back and forth with this drug issue. And then he also is a drug addict. Because what I had to ask myself about that, when they got homeless and was sleeping in that car, when you hear that testimony, it's mind-blowing. Why are you all getting high sleeping in a car? Then I learned to read, she was selling the food stamps. So you're getting food stamps for the children, food stamps for Harmony, claiming her, and then you're selling the food stamps. And did you know that while they were sleeping in that car, they were eating baby food? Burger King and baby food. You've got money to go buy some type of food while homeless, sleeping in a car in winter, and you're selling it to buy drugs from that guy who you hear testifying, beating up a kid in the same car. Child is in the car soiling herself both ways. This was definitely a recipe for disaster, because the child didn't have a good start in the first place. And the fact that the state was letting this woman get her child back, saying it, is how she got with Adam. You all let her get a chance to get a child back. Shit jumped off again. That's where Adam comes in. And then the rest is history.
It was a reunification program, but you could only progress so much there. So then we moved to Ruth Kelly Umi's house on the other side of Roxbury. Dorchester.
Okay. When the two of you were living together, how was Harmony?
Amazing. Rambunctious, very smart. By the time she was 2, she could tell you her whole life story.
She was talkative?
Yes. People didn't believe she was 2.
When you got custody and were reunified with Harmony in those 2 places, did you work and finish potty training with Harmony?
Yes,
Okay.
I did.
And how did she take to that?
She did very well, honestly. I was kind of surprised. She was just really excited to be a big sister. Her brother had diapers, and I told her, babies wear diapers, and you're not a baby anymore, you're a big sissy. So she was right on it, and she did so well.
In September and then October, I know you were reunified in March of 2016. In September and October of 2018, did she go to live again with Michelle Rafferty?
Yes.
And when she left, then that would be the fall.
And she did so well.
In September and then October, I know you were reunified in March of 2016. In September and October of 2018, did she go to live again with Michelle Rafferty?
Yes.
And when she left, then that would be the fall of 2018. How old was she?
2018.
See, this is where there's the problem right here. 3 months old, the baby is out of her care. She goes and stays with this foster care lady. Then 2016, she's reunited with the child. Okay? But you got to remember, the child was born in 17. So 18, she's not a year yet. Wait a minute. No, that's not right. She's born in 17. So June, July, August, September. So that'd be September of 17. Let me write this down. September of 17, she's with the foster care lady. No, 14, I mean. I'm getting confused. 14, she had the kid. 2 years later, she's reunited. Sorry about that. I'm getting confused. I'm getting thrown off. Too many numbers. 14, she's born. March 16, she's reunited with her again. And then it's too much. See, this is where it becomes ridiculous. Trying to keep up with the dates and stuff, see. Baby born in 14. You lose her. 3 months. So that would have been the fall of 14, September 14, that this lady got her. So then you go all the way into March 2016, you're reunited. But I don't think she was really that stable in the reunification. So that strikes me as strange. Don't you see? This is a recipe for disaster. Because I do not think she was stable when she was reunited with the child. And then the fact she had a baby boy. So now you're talking about trying to get your child back and do right. And then you got another kid. And then you still lose her again. And then obviously you lost the boy too. This is crazy to me.
3.
Oh, man.
4.
Yeah, basis.
It's leading and I think it is.
Yeah, I believe the question was, how old was she in the fall of 2018?
Objections overruled.
Thank you.
I don't understand this.
So she was born in 2014, is that correct?
She was 4, yes.
Okay, so she was 4 in 18.
Yes.
And was she fully potty trained when she left you?
Yes.
I'm going to ask you, who was Harmony's birth father?
Adam Montgomery.
And how did you meet him?
Through a mutual friend.
Was he living with you when Harmony was born?
No.
Were the two of you living together when Harmony went to live with the Raftertys?
Never.
Did you ever have any other children with Adam Montgomery?
No.
Right now.
So you see, there was really nothing going on between she and the guy when she got pregnant with the girl child. No special love, affection, attention, great relationship. And in the end, no matter however long he stayed with Kayla, he didn't care about Kayla. He didn't care about those kids. And we now know he definitely didn't care about Harmony.
At some point in 2019, who got custody of Harmony?
Adam.
Where was Adam living at the time?
Manchester, New Hampshire.
Do you remember what street he was living on?
Guilford Street.
And is that where Harmony was as well?
Yes.
What, if any, visits did you have with Harmony after she went to live with Adam Montgomery?
I had 2 physical visits with her. And then I had 2 FaceTime calls. Both.
I want to interrupt right here. I don't know if this was discussed on cross-examination by the defense, Mr. Adams' attorney, but did she explain how the child got into custody of Adam, either on her own or the state took the child, and then she mentioned, the child has a father? That's what I'd like to know. Because if the state got involved on this last transference of the child, why didn't you all do a background check on the father to see he had a violent history? He's been to prison, been to jail for violence. Why would you give him the child? Help me understand if that's how it went. Because I have not watched all of the testimony after the state is talking to her. And I'm assuming the defense would do their homework to see how the baby got transferred over to Adam in February of 2019. He had no business with the child. It's bad enough the mother didn't need her, had no business with her. He definitely didn't have no business with no child because he had a violent history. So that should have been off the table, off the grid. So I'm confused at this. So the state, you have some explaining to do why he had custody. Now, I do know of someone who has a drug history, as far as selling drugs, narcotics, going to prison for drugs, violation of parole, so on and so forth. And they end up getting custody of their teenage daughter because the mother was on drugs and the daughter didn't have anywhere to go. So he was able to get custody. But I would assume even in some states, that would still be a no-no. To give a convicted felon, drug felon, custody of a child. And it's not to say a person can't redeem himself or herself, to show that they work, they have a viable place to live, because at the time the person was married, and they lived in a nice community, nice apartment and everything. But the person still had tendencies himself to have a temper. Now, maybe the state forgot about that, because my understanding, the children that he was taking care of along with his wife, they weren't his children, they had called on him at one point that he was had a temper and had manhandled one of the girl children many years before. So I find that interesting now that I jog my memory back on that case. And this is a personal case that I know of. So you can see the discrepancies with the state in certain situations where they let shit slide that they shouldn't. Because many would say, I would have given the father custody of his own daughter, knowing he's already convicted of selling narcotics, number one. Number two, his own stepchildren accused him of being violent and or had a temper. So how would he get custody years later of his own child that, he later in life found out he had a girl child? So how did he get custody of her? And then when I last heard back last year, that girl child ended up living with his other older daughters because she just couldn't stay in one place to get it together. So this shows what happens to children who grow up going from house to house, foster care. They end up not being stable. And that's usually how they get in more trouble once they're grown, because they keep going from place to place, running around. And that's a sad thing to say, because this girl should have had a good start. But that's the thing people don't understand. A lot of people don't keep children or adopt children. You just assume, oh, well, she's young, she should have been easily adopted out. It doesn't work like that, because you got to know what's wrong with the child. You got to know what's wrong with the people that's taking care of the child. It's a combination. And usually the combination is not good. But that's a myth. Oh, they're young, they should get adopted. Well, as you see, children can start out at 3 months, 4 months old, still never get adopted. 5 years old, never get adopted. Next thing you know, they're 8, then they're 15, and they're aging out of foster care into adulthood. And you see it all the time. The children being placed from house to house just as babies and toddlers, and nobody adopts them.
Very brief.
The physical visits, where did you visit her?
Excuse me. Guilford Street.
Did you visit with her outside the home or inside the home?
Inside the home.
Inside the home.
Oh, I didn't know.
Did you see where her room was?
No.
Okay.
He never showed me.
When you say he, who is he?
Adam never showed me. I was only allowed in the living room or the bathroom.
How did you communicate with Adam at that time?
I want to interrupt again. Well, Brooke, if that's true, that still goes back to what I said. If this is court mandated, the shuffling of a child, it still goes to the fact that you didn't do a background check on him. So explain that. That's why I was asking, was the state mandated, or she handed the child to him herself and said, I can't take care of the child? Because you can't explain logically the state giving a perpetrator a child who has shot somebody in the head. Okay, now you can have the record as a child, you don't see that record as a child, those are sealed. But when he became grown, he stayed in trouble. And they got him 21 incidents in one state. That should tell you something, okay? So I'm going to say it again. Why would the state give a girl child, any child, to Adam Montgomery with a criminal background and has been to penitentiary for violence? Why? Did you do a home visit? Who would approve a home visit with a whole bunch of people living in a house? Stay woke. That house that he lived in had a lot of people living there. You hear Kayla recounting all of that in court. Make it make sense. Why would the state give this man, I'm sure he's a felon, why would you give him custody of a child? 2, did you go in the house and do visits to say that it's stable? Because you're supposed to go into a house before you place a child in custody with a parent, grandmother, grandfather, whomever, to make sure it's a fit place. There's a place for the child to sleep. There's a bed. Now, we've seen in foster care, they'll let a child go into foster care or a house that don't have a bed. As long as it's got a couch or a cot, they'll let the foster parent take them. No, they only have a whole room for the child to sleep in or a bed, and that has been proven. This situation to me is different. This man has a violent past, history, criminal records. Why did he get custody? So the state failed right there. This child could still be alive, living somewhere other than her mother and her biological father. But because she got reunited with the mother, round 2, is how she got with the father. And naturally, the state is not going to tell us anything about any of that happened. So when this governor is talking all this junk about transparency, you're only speaking of when you got the case. But before that, the shuffling of harmony with all these different people, the state is not going to tell us a damn thing about who called, complaints about the child, complaints against the parents, complaints against Adam, complaints about nothing. You're never going to tell us who called, how many times, if you went out to the house to search to see the child, how she was doing, because you're the same motherfuckers that gave him the baby. So why are you going to come out to the public and tell us, yes, we made a mistake by giving the mother her baby back? Yes, we made a mistake by giving Adam the child. Yes, we followed up on the mother's calls that she couldn't reach him and couldn't visit the child. No, we did not go check doctors to see that the child was going to the doctor. No, we did not go to the school to see if she was enrolled in school. They're never going to tell you that. Because with all these cases that transpire pertaining to children and DHS and calls and giving children back and forth and over here, that's the one thing you never hear in a press conference. We take responsibility for giving somebody their child back, regifting them. You never hear it. Even when the shit goes to trial, nobody from the state says we made a mistake by regifting the child back to the mother, the grandmother, the uncle. This is how many calls came in pertaining to child abuse, child neglect of the place that they were placed by us. Checkmate.
Facebook. Yeah, he wouldn't give me his number.
When did you last see Harmony?
April
April
2019.
April of 2019.
Yeah, right before Easter.
How did you see her?
Oh, I was doing a Facebook video call. That was how I had job training, so I couldn't do a physical visit that week because I didn't know my schedule.
You said that was before Easter, is that correct?
So she said she couldn't do a physical visit with the child because she was doing school training. So that means she had access to her child. She had access, obviously, that the court allowed her to see her child while in the custody with Mr. Adam. So the state is liable because now she's giving you information, if you to believe what she's saying, that the state allowed her to have visits with the child. He wasn't complying. She had to go to school, blah, blah, blah. The point is, you dropped the ball once again because you didn't follow up. That's why I said this could have been avoided had you went and found him to see, why are you not letting her see her child? Why are you not letting her visit her child? Why is the child not going to the doctor? Why is the child not enrolled in school? If you all could find him 2 years ago sleeping in a motherfucking car, you could have done this 2 years before and went and found him. How's it different? There is no difference. See, this is the one thing people like to push under the rug. Oh, well, we on the case now and we're doing due diligence. Well, you didn't do due diligence in 2019. The same method you used in 21. Governor, Department of Human Services. It's the same dedication you should have used when she told you she couldn't see her child. He's blocked her on Facebook. Nobody's coming to the door. The child's not going to the doctor. The child is not enrolled in school, pre-K, all those things. By law, she should have been starting school, kindergarten, the fall or late summer of 19. When she found out the child wasn't in school and she called to tell you or left a message, you should have been Johnny on the spot to go over to the house where food stamps, Medicaid, whatever was being received to see why she's not going to school, why she's not going to the doctor, why she don't have immunizations, everything up to par. Ding, ding, ding. That's state law too. She got to have all that in order to go to school. So she should have been got that. So I don't want to hear about what the fuck happened in 22, 21. That's irrelevant to me. Because you should have followed through in 19. Let's go to this house and see what the hell's going on. Why this woman can't see her child? Why the child ain't going to the doctor? Those are all relevant things. And if you can serve a warrant and find him sitting in a fucking car in 21, you could have done the same footwork to go check on the child. Make sure the child is alive. Make sure she's breathing. Make sure she's doing okay. Make sure her needs are being met. And as for the relatives that knew he was slamming this little girl around and beating her up, you all should have called the police. You should have bypassed DHS. I'm going to keep saying that. This girl could have been saved. But then what we have to also question, could she? Because all this shuffling her around like a doll baby, she could have been put in danger again. And see, that's the flip side of dealing with the state and dealing with other people. You don't know people. She didn't have a chance with her own parents. I keep telling people this. Why are you shocked even when they go somewhere else and the child don't fare well? The child is missing because you don't know people. Her parents were not a good fit. Relatives obviously weren't a good fit. Nobody stepped up to try to help, aid, or at least just turn the damn parents in for a child abuse, turn Adam in. So you think a random stranger is going to come in and do better? She may have started out okay with this one lady, but that don't mean the lady would have kept her. That's an assumption. Because we see small children still getting placed house to house, house to house. To me, this is just like the West case. Everybody wants to throw in what they did after the fact. I was a good foster mother. I was this. But we have seen what happens when shit goes bad and the kid gets taken out your custody and then they get taken somewhere else. Because that's the BS we heard with the West boys. Oh, she was a great foster mother. Yeah, but the state removed the kids from her for some reason. Because allegedly you were canoodling with the bio mother. Stay woke. You see, there are no guarantees. Because you're dealing with human beings. Everything's an assumption. Coulda, woulda, shoulda. There are just no guarantees. The child don't look like she had a good chance. And we'll never know what would have happened with the foster care parents because the state gave her to the father. So how are we going to know? We can only assume. Oh, she would have had a good life and she stayed with that lady, that family. But we don't know that now because the child's deceased.
Yes.
Did you see her on Easter?
Yes.
Were you able to see her after that?
No.
What did you try to do to be able to see her or talk to her after that?
I just kept reaching out to Adam and Kayla and, asking, begging them to let me see her. And I was sorry for whatever I did. I wasn't even sure what I did. But I was just trying to reach out to really anybody at that point, his family, his grandmother, his uncle, his dad, anybody.
And let me ask, did you try to reach out through the months of May and June?
May, yes.
What about in July?
I believe so.
Did you receive any phone call from Kevin Montgomery, Adam's uncle, in July?
Yes.
I'm not going to go into the detail of what was said, but after that call, did you continue these efforts you talked about before, trying to get in touch with Adam?
Yes.
And what about September of 2019? Were you trying to get in touch with Adam then?
Yes.
What about October and November of 2019? Were you trying to get in touch with Adam then?
Yes.
Christmas of 2019.
All right, brief intermission. Thank you, Phyllis. Happy Valentine's Day to you and happy Valentine's Day to the viewing audience. Happy birthday to Mr. Chris Thorns. Please check out his content. Thank you all so much for following the network. I'm just skimming over the information pertaining to the past lives of the parents of Harmony Montgomery. It's a case I did not cover on this network. And once again, this is a case, like most cases dealing with children that go into foster care and shuffling around with relatives, it's a lack of responsibility on people that see abuse, hear the abuse, witness the abuse. And as I said, if you see abuse, neglect of a child with your own eyes, I would call the police. I would not call DHS. Sometimes it's okay to call DHS and do a report, but it's so winded. They've got to have concrete shit before they can even come out. When you see something dire, such as black eyes, punching, choking, those type of things pertaining to a child, they're not fed, they're outside all the time, they're hungry, this, that, and the other. Best call the police. I'm getting a notification. Shots fired after Chiefs Super Bowl rally in Kansas City. Police, I don't know what that's about. We'll talk about that at another time.
Within that,
Yes.
were any of those successful?
No.
Did you see or hear from Harmony at all during that time period?
No.
What about in the year 2020? Did you continue to try to find and get in touch with Harmony or Adam?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
No problem. What about the following year, in the year 2020? Did you try to get a hold of Adam and Harmony?
Yes, I had made a new Facebook hoping, because he had blocked me and so did Kayla, I was hoping to get through to him that way.
Did you try also through 2021?
Yes.
By December of 2021, what else were you doing to try to find Harmony?
I was
2 years later.
I was, calling DCF. I was, telling my therapist, talking to anybody that I knew was either a mandated reporter or had some type of leverage, because I wasn't getting anywhere. I had wrote also to the mayor.
She wrote to the mayor.
In December of 2021, did you have any meetings with the Manchester Police Department?
I'm sorry.
Yep. In December of 2021, did you meet with the Manchester Police Department about trying to find Harmony?
Yes.
2.5 years later. That's a long time. That's too long.
And with regards to that, did you provide them with any permissions to try to get more information to help find Harmony?
I signed whatever they needed me to sign.
Did any of that include medical authorizations for medical records?
Yes.
Did you provide a DNA swab for them?
Twice.
Did you provide permission for them to look at your Facebook account?
Yes.
Did you provide permission for them to find out where you had been living and contact those places to confirm your dates there?
Yes.
I want to stop right here. We got a few more minutes, about 5 more minutes left on this. Does this woman have regrets for failing her child? Because she had 2 tries at this. And you're talking about a 2-year span from the time she was taken till the time she was reunited with her daughter. The child was born in 14, reunited in 16. And then she gave the custody to the father in February of 19. So that's almost 3 years from the second reunification. You have to take responsibility at some point for your actions and how you treat your children, how you deal with your children. And I think most of us know this child didn't have a fair shake. And it would not be fair to her for this woman. She may not like what I'm saying. I don't really care. This back and forth was not going to work. She's not a doll. This back and forth was not going to work. You're going interval, 2 years, this year. How is this going to work? Today you're doing good, tomorrow you're not. You're 3 months of giving birth, and you've already decided to use narcotics and place the child into foster care. You get a chance to be reunited with the child 2 years later, okay? Because the child was born in 14. So we got March 16, you reunited. So a year and a half or so. And that doesn't work. And then the father steps into the picture, who had no business getting the child due to his violent history. And then he cuts you off 2 months after getting the child. And you ask yourself, I don't know what I did. You tell the court, I don't know what I did. To this day, I don't know what I did to him and her, Kayla. But they would cut me off, block me. Let me tell you what I find interesting about this Facebook shuffle. The blocking her and them sharing a Facebook account. What's that all about? I've met some people that share phones, Facebook accounts. To me, that shows a sign of dominance. Stay woke now. 2 people have no business sharing a Facebook account. For what reason? 2 people have no reason to share a phone. See, when you see people doing this type of behavior, to me, it's asinine behavior. It's child behavior. It's childish. And it shows me that somebody's insecure in the group. A grown man needs his own phone. I seen that a while ago. Why don't you want a phone? You're an adult. You do business. Whatever the hell you got going on, you don't want your own phone. Same thing with a woman. You're an adult. You're a mother. You don't want your own phone. So if something happens in the household, you 2 are living together with kids and all this bullshit. One person, the phone messes up. How are you all going to reach 911 in case of an emergency? The school's trying to contact you to tell you your child is sick, hit by a bus. This is why I tell you have to pay attention to stuff. Because usually everything you need to know about people is sitting right in front of you. If you keep your eyes open and your ears open, you'll see there's foolishness there. Each of them codependent. Mother codependent on drugs. She's relying on drugs to fill whatever void she's feeling. Okay? You don't got the daughter no more. You still were probably getting high. So why are you still getting high? Well, at this point, you're addicted. I think she was probably already using when she was carrying the child in the womb. Okay? Then you had another little boy. For what? See, don't you see the cycle of abuse? The cycle of nonsense? You don't got harmony. Why do you have another child? And then you lose her when you get her back again and got the little boy. Ask yourself, what sense does this make to keep having children? This goes back to the other cases I've talked about where you still keep having a baby after you've lost another child. The state took one child, now you're pregnant again. Your children are a year apart. In the West case, by your mother, same nonsense. That child was taken at 3 months. Are you all following me? The cycle of abuse, the cycle of nonsense, the cycle of not using common sense. I can't be a parent right now by my own choice, drugs, alcohol, mental, whatever. Why do you all still keep procreating? I don't understand this. And the thing they don't understand is when the shit jumps off, you can't go back. You can't go back. Oh, I made a mistake. I didn't mean to do this. 2 tries. How many times the state gonna keep giving you your child back? They don't have a right to do it. And frankly, you don't have a right to keep asking. You can judge it how you want. Well, she made a mistake. She made a mistake. Okay, but we're talking about a child's life. She didn't ask to be here. Now you got a baby boy up under her. What are you doing with him? Did that even come out during this interrogation right here in the court days ago? Well, man, what you doing with another little boy? You can't take care of yourself. You're trying to get your little girl back. Then when you get her back, you lose her again to another knucklehead who definitely didn't need her. And he cut you off 2 months after getting custody. So was he angry that he stepped up to take the baby? Well, you should have done it, Adam. You didn't want the little girl, you shouldn't have done it. You felt some type of way, you in your feelings, but you got a temper because you like pulling guns on people, hurting people. You didn't have no business with no damn baby. And Caleb, you didn't have no business with him because he was violent. We all have to own our part in what we do with people, with kids or without, because you could end up in the trash dumpster, bleeding out in your own house floor, dealing with a violent person. We have to own dealing with violent people, with a child or without. And you, Kayla, didn't care nothing about yourself or your kids or Harmony because you continue to be with a person that was violent. And I won't doubt he was violent before he even got custody of Harmony. Let's not sugarcoat the bullshit, okay? Because he was beating you up after Harmony was already gone. Because he thought you told. Stay woke. So what makes you think he wouldn't do it to you before he even started beating you up? I found that baffling. You think he wouldn't beat your kids up, hurt your kids? They decide they start peeing and urinating on themselves, boo-booing on themselves. They do something he didn't like, boom, boom, boom. He would do the same to those kids. You that have no sense of that. You were gambling with your life and those kids' life every day you dealt with him, even before he got custody. I refuse to believe you all were peachy keen before Harmony got there. Bullshit. He's the same dirty motherfucker before he got that little girl. Because his past tells the story. He was already going to prison. And Harmony was just an infant. She didn't even know her daddy. Because what is that old saying? Past behavior is indicative of future behavior. And Dr. Phil says it best. And it's not to say that a person can't change. But you did not try, Kayla. Adam did not try. And in the beginning, this lady did not try, the bio mother. And that's why we're sitting here today discussing a horrific tale of child abuse and child neglect by parents, relatives, and the state.
So I'm going to show you it's been marked sticks. It's a bit more.
For identification? I'm sorry. That's full exhibit. Thank you.
Do you recognize this person?
Yes. Adam Montgomery.
This is the person that you were trying to get later.
Yes.
Show now. States Exhibit 97.
That's my girl. That's Harmony.
In fall of 2018, she went back because you know that she was going to school.
When she was with Michelle, she was. But not after. No.
Could you explain to me what that
When she went with Adam, she never went to school.
Good.
I'm sorry, look at her.
They're taking a brief break. She's looking very sad there. I'm sure she realizes the severity of the situation, how it all came to unfold to get this information. Because truthfully, I don't believe Kayla would have ever told the truth pertaining to what happened to the baby had she not been arrested herself. She would have held on to this lie, even if it means taking it to the grave herself. I believe that. Once again, happy Valentine's Day to everybody. Please check my community page for said updates. We'll put up some polls. And my movie of the week is The Girl Who Got Away. Very good movie. Please check it out. Free in the YouTube queue and on Roku. Thank you. Almost 2 hours into this live stream.
Ms. Sori, I just have one last question for you. With regards to all of those communications that you talked about through 2019, 2020, 2021, trying to get a hold of Adam Montgomery or Harmony, for any of those, were you ever able to speak with Harmony?
No.
Looking at just a moment. And just to clarify, sorry, the last time that you saw her, I believe your testimony before was April of 2019.
Yes.
So it was not around Thanksgiving time of 2019.
No.
Thank you. I have no further questions for you, Ms. Sori. I believe defense counsel will have a few.
You just use the podium if you want. Leave it there. Thank you. I'll pull it out after this. I'll pull it out after this, because I only have a couple of questions. And it sounds like Harmony was a lovely child and a joy, is that right?
Yes.
And you described on direct her getting potty trained and you comparing her to her brother.
Yeah.
Your son.
Yes.
And I think she loved being a big sister to her brother, your son.
Yes.
Right. And you described how old Harmony was in September of 2018, I think. Harmony was not living with you at that time, is that right?
That's right.
Okay. Thank you.
I figured you'd have asked more questions pertaining to where that little boy ended up, because I'd be curious to that.
Nothing further, Your Honor.
Or her younger child. So she stepped down. I guess they didn't want to grill her. That's usually what happens in these cases. They don't like grilling the parents when they've lost a child, even if they were not the best parent at the time. So let's see if this is what I want to hear. Let me go over my notes before we get into this Kayla business, and I'm going to check out of here. The mother, bio mother, as you heard in this commentary, gave the child up after 3 months of having the baby, back and forth, reunification 2 years later for the child to end up going into the custody of Mr. Adam, February 2019. He's cut the mother off 2 months after getting the child, which is strange. The mother talked to the child Easter 2019. Then there's nothing. She's calling everybody, emails, calling the mayor, messaging, nothing. Complaints, going into the state allegedly about this man abusing his child. What happened? And why did it take so long? 2 years, 2.5 years of this? It's strange to me. He gets arrested for interference and not having the child. Interference with custody and not having the child. The wife, Kayla, arrested for food stamp fraud. Brief dealings with this said child. The mother. And some of you in the chat are saying that the little boy got adopted out. I still say it's crazy to me to have another child when you're battling addiction and then don't have your older girl child. It's strange to me. But you see this a lot with these types of cases of people who are being accused of child abuse, drugs, so on and so forth. Why did he cut the mother off? Was he abusing the child and he didn't want the mother to see the abuse? That's why he cut the mother off. The uncle told of the child abuse to DHS and others. Why didn't they call the police to say, this is what's going on? Why did he call the police to uncle? He's testified recently as well. He also blocked this uncle. Why did you block the uncle? Did you know that he went back and told Adam that he went back and told other people in the state, and that's why you blocked him? Because Wayne got back to you that people were talking about you abusing the little girl. Moving around and around, shelters, cars, state to state, Massachusetts, New Hampshire. Still, no arrest of these people until years later, which I find very baffling. We learned that Kayla lies. She lied to the state, the grand jury, about information pertaining to this child. And as I said, I believe she would have rode this donkey ride all the way to the end because she had a sick fascination with Adam. But we now know Adam doesn't know what love is, and nor does she. And they were just together, something to do. And we also learned that even in the end of this, when it was time to chitter chatter and tell the truth about the baby, she still wanted to be around him and see him. I guess one last time before the hoorah going off into the sunset into jail, which shows you she was sick. She was sick for him. She only told when it was affecting her freedom, Kayla Montgomery. Where are her children? The children left behind due to these people going to jail. The father is violent and should have never gotten custody of Harmony in the first place. And we have yet to hear that the state has owned responsibility for allowing this child to go back into the care of the bio mother and also go back into the care of Mr. Adam. Everybody's used drugs in this storyline, which some may say is the catalyst for the downfall of this baby being unalived by the father. Drugs being used in the car while they're sleeping in the car. No food, selling the food stamps to the dope dealer in exchange for drugs. Once again, no one needed custody of the children. I do believe Kayla would have ended up deceased had she stayed in this relationship with Adam, because he started beating her because he thought she had told on him or was giving information to the police. And you'll hear her testify in court that she hadn't yet told the police anything about Harmony and her being unalived, but he thought she had. That's because his conscience was beating him up, and he knew that he had one living witness to the unaliving of the child. She's a casualty. And we hear this a lot of times pertaining to unaliving people, that you can't keep an eyewitness. Everybody knows this. It's too risky. Because eventually they could tell. As they always say, given the right circumstances for unaliving a person, you put them in that predicament, they can unalive a person. So that's why they say never say what you would and would not do. As someone said in the comment section about Kayla hanging on to him for dear life while they're shuffling this dead baby around in bags and carry-ons. Never say what you wouldn't do. Oh, I could say I wouldn't have hung it around carrying no dead baby around. That's out. Because if he'll do it to her, he would kill my other children. Why would he not? And in the end, he did threaten her. And given the right circumstances or wrong, he would have unalived those other children too. Stay woke. So that sounds foolish to even say some shit like that. Don't say what you wouldn't do. Because like I said, it's one thing to get beat up by a person and stay with them. But now you have children, so now you want to get beat up with your children there? And you're sitting here thinking, what? They wouldn't start punching your children? Well, he just killed a whole child in front of you. So why wouldn't he kill the damn kids? The other kids. And you too. You're not special. That was his flesh and blood he took. So there's no loyalty. You think because he chose you to hang on to you, he's codependent. He's an addict. You were an addict, Kayla. So he'd have snuffed you out like he did that little girl and done the same to the children and anybody else, because his past shows that as well. Had she not gotten arrested, Kayla, she would have held on to the very end to Adam Montgomery. I believe that. The boldness of carrying a dead baby around place to place to place. Come on now. That's what really got me intrigued listening to that testimony this morning. I said, you got to be kidding me. Oh, Queen was up till almost the break of dawn listening to this foolishness. The places, the friend's car, from their car, sleeping in the friend's car, the baby in the trunk and a bag, going to the mother-in-law's house, putting the bag under the house, then taking it to the hallway, putting it in a damn cooler that other people could use and could have looked in the cooler to take to use for something. Voila, somebody could have found the baby then. Are y'all hearing this? Then we're going to a shelter, putting the baby up in the vent. Now the maintenance is called. That didn't make no sense to me. Well, how the hell the maintenance didn't find the baby then? So what? Somebody came saying, oh, we smelled something from your room. Then you hurried up and grabbed the bag out of there and then took it out So the maintenance didn't go look up in the vent and see the stains up there and say to himself, okay, this don't sound right. This don't smell right. Where are these stains coming from? Look at how many times they should have been caught with the dead girl. Now you're taking it in the bathroom, hiding it in the shelter. That don't make no sense. Putting her in another bag. Then you're taking her to your job, putting her in a freezer. Still the baby could have been found. Now we move into a new apartment. February 2020. Now we're unthawing her in the tub. This is where Kayla allegedly helps out. Then she walks away. Are y'all hearing what I'm saying? Now we're renting a van to take her, dispose of her. He takes her off somewhere. So the people who rented the van, the Brittany girl, you all didn't ask, or whoever the girl was that rented the van, you didn't ask yourself, well, why he needs this van? See, this is what's crazy to me. All these intricate parts, moving parts in the disposal, unaliving disposal of a kid. And then before that, the abuse of her. So shuffling of a child, abuse, eyewitnesses, phone calls, emails, nothing done. And then all these intricate tentacles are looped into a girl child, even after death. And ain't nobody sensing something is awry with these two. Help me understand. The baby could have been found so many times. You're carrying her around for weeks and she wasn't smelling. I found that odd. Staying with the mother. They were there for a few weeks at the mother's house. She wasn't stinking in the hallway in that damn cooler. You ought to think that somebody could go open the cooler, use it, put some beer or ice or something in it. The boldness of it all. You were bold to take her life. You were bold in concealing her from place to place as if nobody could have ever found her. You had ample enough time in the wake of the night to have dumped that baby somewhere. You could have got on a bus and rolled the bus to the end of the bus line and dumped her in a bag, sir. You didn't have to keep shuffling her around. Because at some point, people had to go to sleep when you were staying with the mother-in-law. You could have went and took her out then. That's usually what people do with small children, is they discard them in dumpsters because they're small enough to be concealed in something, a tub, a bag, a box, whatever. Now, you may not have had a car, but you had the transit system. And just as quick as you kept carrying her around, you could have done the same on a bus or a train. Help me understand. You could have rolled the train system, the bus system to the last stop and got out and walked out in the middle of nowhere where nobody saw you and dumped her in a river, ravine, anything. Help me understand. See, that's why you held on to her, because you didn't want to dump her. You was afraid to dump her because you knew there was a chance she could be found in that damn bag. And then they would start the process, law enforcement. That's the only reason why you held on to her as long as you did. Months carrying around a corpse, rotting corpse in a bag. Help me understand. But I know why you did it. Because you didn't want that ever coming back. Out of sight is out of mind. No evidence, can't link me to her. And even now, you've turned on Kayla. See, this is where Kayla is the fool. You never thought this day would come to where the truth would get out. And he wouldn't turn on you. So he admits to abuse of a corpse. So basically he's saying, oh yeah, I know about a dead kid, but I didn't do it. She did it. My wife did it. So Kayla, you see what love can get you. He's turned on you. He's refused to go to court and stand account for the murder of his child. And now he's saying, you did it. And we all know you only told because you got arrested for the food stamp fraud. Of course. Love is blind. Indeed it is. And now what's the end result? You get a few years, you get out, you get to walk free, and God forbid, you meet some other poor fella, and you get tangled up with him, and you get knocked up again. And God forbid, you meet somebody just as cruel as Adam Montgomery, and start the cycle all over again. You got a slap on the wrist, but you played a part. No matter what part people want to believe you played, you knew the child was unalive. You may not have taken her life. You may not have been the one carrying the bag around and moving the bag around, but at some point you aided in knowing she was unalive, and you never went and told law enforcement. You never feared for your safety or your children. You kept saying that during the trial. I was fearful of him. I was fearful of him. You couldn't have been fearful because there were too many times when you could have left him. You even called the police on him at one point and still got back in cahoots with him, moving around from shelter to shelter to shelter years after the death of the baby. That shows you weren't that scared of him. Maybe somewhere in your head you thought, he ain't gonna hurt me. He talks a good game. He's punching me. He's hurting me. But he ain't gonna unalive me. Oh, yeah, he would. Because that's all it takes is a couple of punches to the face and the head. And we realize he likes punching in the head. Does he not? And look what he's done now. He won't even go to court. Only went to court for the jury selection, but now he's not even showing up to face the music of what he has done to his child because he knows he can't sit in front of 12 members of a jury in an open court. He knows what's been seen and said about the little girl, the evidence brought into the court. He doesn't want to look at that because he knows he's the orchestrator of all of that. He doesn't want to have to look at you, knowing he shared a jacked up life with you and your children and other relatives. He don't want to look at the eyewitnesses testify against him that he beat a baby. Now, I don't want to look at y'all. I know what I did to her. Because I'm heartless. I'm selfish. I'm a bum. I'm disrespectful. He's never had respect for anybody. That's why he has that lengthy criminal record of stealing and theft and pulling out guns and this and that and shooting people. He's never cared for anybody. And that leads me to believe he's had a jacked up child existence and a fucked up upbringing. That's how he got to be there. And Kayla, you probably had a fucked up life as well with your mama. Because why didn't your mama get your kids? See, I ask all the questions because I already know the damn answers. Really don't have to ask. Why didn't your mother get your children? Or did she get your children? I don't know. Where are your children? Who has your children, Kayla? Mother taking out a restraining order, so on and so forth. I read you that information. And the mother should have been saying to you, don't you think it's time you leave this guy alone? He's trouble. And did the mother even say at some point, where is that little girl? I saw her Thanksgiving while y'all out sleeping in cars and this and that, and y'all had to come back and stay with me. Well, where's the little girl? The mother didn't think to ask. Oh, y'all made up an excuse. Oh, she's with the mother, and you believed it. But then at some point, the mother had to think, once it became national news, local and national news, okay, there's something up with this. He's trouble, he's a beater, and now a whole child's missing, and the mother's saying, I never got the child. So then, that mother had to start thinking back, the mother-in-law. Who the hell have I had in my house? Ooh, but you sure had to be sick after hearing this testimony that child was in a duffel bag right up under your damn house and in that hallway. Checkmate. Your daughter was riding around with this baby in a trunk, then into another car, the dope dealer's car, then into a shelter, then into another apartment, then to Adam's job, then back to the apartment to thaw out, then into a rental van. Your daughter, the child you gave birth to, aided a killer, had knowledge of a dead kid, and did nothing. Only opened her mouth until her freedom was at stake. Thank you, sweetheart. Thank you. Hello, everybody in the chat. Thank you for joining me. This is a sinister case of child abuse, neglect, drug addict parents, shuffling of a child in the state, out the state's care. This gives me vibes of the West Boys all over again. All these stories are similar, and the common denominator are the biological parents once again. You see, it's one thing begets another. That's the thing about a story. Everything starts over here, and then it goes over here. Then you've got the eyewitnesses. the people calling, not calling. I was involved, uninvolved. And that's how you get a story such as this. And sadly, there will be another story like this. We'll just sit and wait to hear of a child missing. Shuffling of a child state to state, missing. In the care, out the care. With the mama, with the daddy, with the cousin, with the foster care. It's all the same. The state has to accept responsibility at some point of these children, that perhaps these parents don't need a second chance with their child. It may seem cruel, but sometimes you have to say, sorry, we cannot give you custody back. Because perhaps had you all not given the bio mother a second chance, the child would be alive today. The fact that you gave the child to a father with a violent history tells me you did not do your job. Adam had no business with a child. Adam had no business in the company of the ones he had with Kayla. But that was up to Kayla. She had to have known about his past, but she rode that donkey ride anyway. You see, as I keep saying, one thing begets another. Somebody has to draw a conclusion. This is not healthy. And you have to tell yourself that as a woman being abused by a man, that something can go terribly wrong with the one punch, the one choke, the pulling of the hair, the verbal abuse. You can't assume you're going to walk out of that room. Now you got children in the mix. You see, a dead man tells no tales. You're assuming it's going to work out. That's what Kayla hoped this entire time, that it would work out. But it did not. Love is blind. Aiding a man who unallowed a child right in front of you and you play possum. Because I tried to weigh it out. I said, be objective, Angela. She was scared. She was fearful. But then when I heard about the food stamp fraud, that's all it took for me to conclude she would have rode this ride all the way up to the end had she not been arrested. She would have never told him. And she was getting beat up because he thought she was telling. So that means she didn't even care about her own safety. And she didn't care about her kids. So she was selfish. And it wasn't about harmony. Because she lied to the grand jury. And that tells you something else about her. That even after he's gone, went on, got another woman, all of that, you were still upholding him. And still wanting to see him at the end from what they're saying now. And he's turned on you to say, you unalive the baby. How about that? Does she want to see him now? Does she have regrets now, Kayla Montgomery? Does the bio mother have regrets? Does Kayla have regrets? And does Adam Montgomery have regrets? Well, we know Adam feels nothing because he now blames Kayla. And in the end, when you weigh everything out and everything that's been said, you can't honestly believe Kayla has any empathy because she let it go on too long. And she was there for the unaliving, the transference of the child in the bags, ice, frozen, house, this place, apartment, shelter. At some point, sense should have seeped in. This is wrong. Now he's thinking I'm going to tell on him. He thinks I've told him. He's beating me up. Black eyes, swole face. I'm still sleeping around with him. Going from place to place, new shelters all over again. That's not love. And he killed a whole baby. And yet you still supported him. At some point, you've got to own that. So even crying in court, is it genuine? I will put that poll up. Is it genuine? Hold on one second. 1 second, everybody.
Cooler when you were living with your mother?
Every day, multiple times a day,
Where was the cooler kept?
in the hallway. In the hall walkway. Was 7:09 in the morning.
Honor, at this time I moved to strike ID of States Exhibit 89 in Marcus Cole.
Okay. The ID is stricken and it's introduced a full exhibit.
Going back. He doesn't want to be in court.
Taylor, can you tell the jurors what happened when Adam returned to the vehicle after his methadone treatment?
When Adam came back to the vehicle, he could smell urine and he started yelling at Harmony and kept hitting her in the head repetitively.
Where were you when he smelled that accident? Where was the vehicle when he smelled that accident?
In front of the methadone clinic.
Did you discuss going somewhere with him at any point that morning? Going to get food?
Yes. I asked to go to Burger King.
You asked to go to Burger King.
Yes.
And so at some point, did he begin driving the vehicle?
Yes.
Was that before or after he repeatedly struck Harmony?
After.
What was Harmony doing at that point when he started driving the vehicle?
She was crying a lot.
She was crying a lot?
Yeah. And she was making a weird noise.
Was she saying anything?
No.
And Kayla, I want you to walk the jurors through in as much detail as you can what happened on your route from Habitopco to that Burger King.
Adam was getting really angry from Harmony peeing in the car, and he repetitively kept punching her on the way to Burger King, and there were a couple red lights, and when we were at red lights, he would go over the driver's seat, in between the passenger seat, and he was just punching her repetitively in the head.
And you said there were several times where he punched her repetitively in the head.
Yes.
How many times did he hit her?
I can't count. I don't know.
Were you counting?
No, I wasn't.
How many lights did that car come to where he...
At least 2 or 3.
Between Habitopco and the Burger King, did the defendant say anything to Harmony?
I told her to shut the fuck up. Stop crying.
He said she was making a weird noise.
Yes.
Can you describe it?
It was like, I can't even describe it. It was like a moaning kind of noise, but crying. It was just weird. I can't explain it.
Did you try to help Harmony while he was striking her?
Yes.
Tell the jurors what you did to try to help.
I put my arm up and said to stop, but he looks at me and he gave me this look that was like evil. It's crazy. eyes. I didn't like it, and I couldn't stop him from hitting her, because the look that he gave me was scary. I was scared.
What were you feeling when he looked at you like that?
Like he was either gonna hit me or just, I don't know. It was weird. And that was like one of the first times that I've seen him look at me like that.
Was it the last time you saw him look at you like that?
No.
And we'll talk about that more. But I want to focus on this drive. You said that Harmony's crying. She's making this weird noise.
Yeah.
Where was she in the vehicle?
She was behind the passenger seat.
And who was in front of her in that car?
I was.
You described the defendant almost coming over the seat.
Yes.
Was he still driving at that point?
Some, like, kind of. Like, between the red lights and definitely at the red lights. I remember that.
How was he striking her?
By punching her in the head.
Where were your other two children at that time?
In the back seat.
What were they doing?
They had no idea what was going on.
How old were they?
Seamus was about 2.5, and Declan was 11 months old.
Did you look back at Harmony at any point?
No.
What?
Intermission. Let's stop right here. She's in the court talking about what happened on that fateful day. 5 votes right now for was Kayla afraid of Adam? Take the polls. 40 people in the room, only 6 votes. Come on, you guys, take the poll. Was she remorseful for the murder of the baby? 63% no, 27%, 9% not sure. I meant to put not sure for this poll, but I ended up hitting it by mistake, so it is what it is. 29% says yes. She was afraid of him. 8 votes. It's all bizarre. Being homeless, living in a car, watching somebody kill a kid, and you say nothing. That weighs heavier than any notion that she loved him. She was afraid of him. You have to use deduction. There's a dead kid here, and I'm saying nothing, and I'm riding around. She's saying I put my hand up trying to stop him, but he had this look in his eye. I've never seen this look in his eye, blah, blah, blah. But the kid's not alive. And you have to be responsible for other children that are now in your possession with this monster. And you rode the ride a while. Because my understanding, this went on for years, on and off, back and forth, shelters, apartments, all this, knowing what he's capable of. And you had to say to yourself, Kayla, he would do this to me, he would do this to my children. Like I said, it's one thing to stay with somebody abusive, and it's just you're singular. There's no other children, there's no cats, no dogs. Because people say, well, you're foolish to be an abusive person, whether you got kids or not. Okay, but you got kids now. What makes you think they wouldn't do it to your children? That's the part I don't understand. He just killed a kid in front of you. And you're thinking he wouldn't kill your other kids. Because at some point, they're going to pee on themselves. They're going to boo-boo too. You're sleeping in a car. You may not be able to get somewhere in time for them to use the bathroom. And let me tell you, I can't imagine boo-booing outside. Boo-booing outside and urinating outside is not the same. You got to now try to boo-boo without getting it on your clothes and all that. Are you all hearing what I'm saying? We don't really have to be descriptive, but use your head. There are going to be some accidents so long as nobody was wearing diapers. You can't get to the restroom. The car broke down, for God's sake. This stupid-ass dope dealer friend, he's dumb. Letting them sleep in his car. Look at all the opportunities that they should have been caught with this kid in a bag. That's what's mesmerizing to me. The fact they took all these chances carrying this kid around dead, and then she's still staying with him. Homeless. I'm not about to be homeless with no man. You're not helping me. You're not doing nothing for me. I'm not going to be homeless with you with or without no kids. I'm not getting ready to stay with you knowing you just killed your kid. That's why I said you can make mistakes dating an abusive person just singular on your own. But now I got kids with me. Why would I not think you wouldn't do it to my kids? That's what I don't understand about this chick. He just unalived a baby in front of me. Oh, he ain't going to hit me? He ain't going to hit my other two? What's so special about the other two kids? Nothing. Nothing. Yes, she has so many chances to leave. Was Kayla afraid of Adam? 61% no. Yes, 38%. All right. Let's ask the ultimate question. Oh, I keep hitting the poll before giving you the third option. I'm not sure.
What were you saying?
If Adam was going to say something, or if he hurt her really bad, it was going to look really bad.
You were scared of what Harmony would look like? That attempt to intervene, were you successful in that?
No.
Did he stop after that?
Shortly after that.
Shortly after that.
Oh, it wasn't low.
Did he say anything to you when he stopped?
Everybody turned a blind eye about the odor,
He said
obviously.
things that he really hurt her. But he felt something.
She's crying. Do you believe these tears of her in court?
When he said that he thinks he really hurt her, where was the vehicle at that point?
He really hurt her. Yeah, you really hurt her.
At Burger King?
At the Burger King?
Yes.
And what did the defendant do after he stopped hitting Harmony, after he said, I think I really hurt her?
Nothing.
Did you order food from Burger King?
Yes.
Where was Adam when you were ordering food from Burger King?
In the driver's seat.
Did you go inside to the Burger King or something else?
No. I don't remember going in there.
Did you go through the drive-thru?
Yes.
And so who ordered the food?
Adam did.
And what did you do with the food that he had ordered?
Ate it, gave some to the kids.
Where were you when you ate the food?
In the parking lot
Which parking lot?
of Burger King.
Now, the kids were behind you at that point.
Yes.
Is that what you testified to?
Yes.
And who gave them food?
I did.
Did you see Harmony when you were giving them food?
No.
Why not?
Because she was under the blanket.
Who put her under the blanket?
Adam.
That's the same blanket that you mentioned earlier.
Yes.
The same blanket he would cover her with?
Yes.
Where did you go from the Burger King parking lot, Kayla?
Went back to Colonial Village.
And how did you get there?
With the vehicle out of traffic.
Was Harmony still under the blanket when you arrived at Colonial Village?
Yes.
Right now they're talking about this shuffling with the body. I asked you about the tears of guilt. The tears, of her crying. Larissa says she believes she's guilty. It's the only reason why she's crying in court. Very interesting. Take the polls, please. I will post these to the community board for others to take as well. Let's check what you all have to say. Most of you believe she would not have told on him had she not gotten arrested. 90%. Yes, 9%. Only 11 votes. Let's go up to the next poll. Should Kayla be in prison with longer sentence? 78% yes, 22% no. Now it's 78. It's going back and forth. 82% yes, not sure, 0%. So most of you are adamant about your decision about her going to prison or not. I think he would be facing about 40 years or so. I think the reason why he's not in court, as I said, he doesn't want to face the music, don't want to face the audience. And also he's already on a 30-year sentence originally for the gun charge or some other charge. So he already figures I'm going to be old coming out of here. And they're probably going to vote guilty for me anyway for the baby because they've got DNA from the vent. That blood came back positive as Kayla Montgomery's blood. Okay? Toothbrush in the trunk. And it might be some soil from the trunk. It is what it is. Detective saying I smelled decomposition when the vent came off, which I don't understand any of that. Why that wasn't found by the maintenance guy. When you went up there to check, did you not go up in the vent to check? You didn't see the soil stain to say, what is this up here? There's something nefarious going on in this room with these people. See, this is why this is bullshit. There were too many opportunities for these people to be caught. Too many opportunities where the little girl shouldn't even been in their custody, let alone to lead up to all this carrying the body around. See, this is one thing begets another. All this started with the parents and the state. Point blank. Eyewitnesses seeing the baby beat up. You should have called the police. You should have called the police. 79% says yes, going to end the poll. She sounds practiced, says Hyacinth. Okay. The tears are for her being in trouble, not for Harmony. All right. You're welcome, Larissa. Well, the fact she stayed as long as she did, that's my proof. You had too many opportunities to leave. And when he became abusive to you, at that point, you should have said, okay, this man unalived this kid. I'm a witness to it. Now he's beating me up, and we just moved into this apartment. I got to get rid of him. It should have never went as far as it did, him bringing that body back to that house from that job freezer. And then she's cutting the fabric off the baby and all that. See, all that was too much. You all were able to secure an apartment. And now time goes by. He thinks you then told on him. Now he's beating you up. And as you all said, the Burger King situation, I ain't even about to touch that. Because when she told that in court, I was sitting here like, huh? You can eat with a dead baby under the covers? See, this is when you know it's so macabre. How could she not know better? But we hear these stories once again of people knowing that somebody has died, knowing that somebody has been murdered, and they ride the ride. So what do we always say? Imagine the stories you have yet to hear the truth. All this time, somebody's crying about their baby. 2 years before the state, the police gets involved, that girl been dead. Imagine that. Harmony Montgomery is out there somewhere in La La Land, and those two knew. People saw the abuse and didn't call the police. You have to use deduction. I ain't worried about DHS. I ain't sit up here and call no number and fill out no forms. I'm calling the police, and they can see the baby eye, and they can take her out of the house right then, Johnny on the spot. See, all this could have been avoided. So see, this is why I keep talking about one thing begets another. This one dropped the ball, and then here was another opportunity for the child to be saved. Then this dropped the ball, another chance for the child to be saved. All these different opportunities for the baby to be saved, and nobody stepped in. That's where I have the problem. It was too many irons in the fire. Over here, over here, over here, over here, and nothing. Now we got a whole kid gone, and they're carrying her around dead. That's even more disturbing than just the abuse of drug addicts having her and shuffling around the foster care. They're carrying her around, you know, like you got her in a purse. Do you know how disturbing that is to hear of hitting her, children in the car, you trying to stop them, then he acting like, oh, I think I hurt her because she ain't moving because her car done broke down, and they're just shuffling her around. Lord have mercy on me.
And that moaning that you mentioned, that weird noise that she was making, was she still making it?
No.
How long did that noise that she was making last?
I don't remember. It wasn't. I don't remember. I don't remember if it was too long. I don't remember if it was after we were at.
Intermission. I'm almost into hour 3. I don't know if I'm going to continue this commentary because it's it's going to be winded. Them going into all the places that the baby ended up, but this is the same tale I keep hearing. That's my point of this live stream. Same hotel, just a different day.
Yes.
Did you check on Harmony at any point after the moaning stopped?
No.
Did Adam?
No.
Why didn't you check on her?
Because I was scared.
When you arrived at the Colonial Village parking lot, when you arrived back there, what did you and the defendant do?
We got drugs and got high.
When you say we got drugs and got high, what drugs did you get?
Heroin and crack.
And how long did you use those?
So let's go there. Who believes because she was drug-induced, drug addict, that's why she held on and not told about the baby in the back seat? Because somebody put that in the comment section under one of the videos. Well, when you enter in drugs, so what are you going to say? She was induced under drugs every day up until when? Every day she had drugs in her system after during the commission of the murder and afterwards. Up until when? She didn't have one sober day without narcotics. Because in order to get high, you have to have money. And at some point, the food stamps are going to run out and you selling the food stamps and you don't got no money. And I found that strange. Nobody's working a job after they get evicted from this house. So instead of you trying to go find a job, he go find a job, put the kids in daycare or pay somebody to keep the kids. You two want to live in a car and get high and go to the clinic and get the methadone and all that. I'm utterly confused. I thought that stuff was supposed to help you come off the drugs. The methadone clinic and Suboxone or whatever you call it. I don't understand none of this. Because I don't want to know. Let me make that clear. And I've said this to many people, not to be judgmental. I don't care too much for people that use narcotics. I just don't. For this very reason, we're talking about this nonsense with this little girl. Because this is the worst case scenario of drug use. Child neglect, abuse, unaliving of a child. And the first excuse you're going to get, I was under the influence. I didn't know any better. I just went along with it. I was scared. So what is the truth? You fear for your safety, or you was under the influence of drugs, or both? Because at some point, as I said, you can't use the drugs because at some point, you ain't drugged up no every day because you got to have money to get high, okay? And there's a point when you put a restraining order out on them, or your mother did when you went back and stayed with your mother somewhere down the road. So when do you say, I got to leave him alone? I need to go tell the truth about what happened to that baby in the backseat of that car. I don't want to end up Harmony Montgomery. I don't want my children to end up like Harmony ended up. How about that? Because see, you can always weigh it two sides. And as someone said, don't say what you wouldn't do if you weren't in her situation. Well, I could say I'm not riding around with a dead kid, I bet you that. And nobody could make me. Because at some point, he turned his head from her because she says in testimony, he would go off with the drug dealer and go do stuff. So that means she was left alone with her remaining children. That's when she should have ran like hell. I'm going to the police station. He left you at your mother's house or over here, over there to go do dope with that guy. That's when you should have hauled ass somewhere and told wherever you was in the business, please call the police. I got to report a crime. And then they would have put her in protective custody. And she could have got herself clean and got herself some therapy and got herself over this man. And I get it. We all have liked somebody, cared for somebody, been in love, obsessed, whatever word you want to use. But in the end, when you start weighing everything and start deducting the facts, you realize you were not in love. He didn't love you. It was nothing. Null and void. You have to tell yourself that at some point. This is not love. Being manipulated, being groomed, being used, being an eyewitness to a crime, aiding the person in the crime, covering up the crime. Whether you use the saw, use the lime, whatever. Cut the clothes off. You're complicit. You may not have beat the baby. You may not have been able to stop him from beating the baby. I'll tell you something about it that was baffling. He's hitting the baby at the red lights. Let her tell it. All of it's disturbing. The story she spends in court is beyond words. So he's looking over his shoulder, hitting the baby with his foot on the brake. Are y'all hearing this? He ain't even worried about killing y'all in the car while he's trying to beat a kid. So you know he's punching this kid in. Excuse my expression. He's doing all this with his foot on the brake. He could have easily killed them trying to unalive the little girl. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know. Let's go eat. So when you weigh all that, because she's descriptive in court, you have to say to yourself, Kayla, really? You had too many opportunities to leave him. We're not going to sit here and believe every waking moment you two were together. You had an opportunity and you told it in court. There were times he went with that guy to do drug deals or whatever he had him doing. That was your opportunity to go get help and tell the truth. And I honestly believe she would have never told on Adam had she not gotten arrested for the food stamp fraud. And to hear that she still wanted to see him right after telling on him, being arrested, tells me she has no remorse for the death of the child, the unaliving of the child by Adam. She never cared for her children, and she didn't even care for herself. Her main priority was Adam Montgomery. Because to go through all of this with him, watching the child be unalive, carrying the torch along with him, transferring a body from place to place, being beat up by him, leaving, going in a shelter, getting back with him, back and forth to your mother's house. Your mother take out a restraining order. All this back and forth, 2 years in, you still wanted to see him even after being arrested. He was a catalyst of all of this. And even in the end, Kayla wanted to be in the fold, in the arms of Mr. Montgomery. So where's the remorse for the baby and the children? Where's the remorse for carrying the lie and aiding the lie, being complicit? She's just told you. I never cared for the children because I didn't care for myself. My only priority was Adam Montgomery. She's told you that. Lord have mercy. Thank you, Hyacinth. I'm not going to hold you all because it's 3 hours in, but I wanted to play just a little bit of that because the rest is just her getting rid of the kid. And I don't want to go too much over because I'm almost 3 hours in. Lord have mercy. There's no rhyme or reason to this. Because I tell myself, Angela, you need to be more objective in hearing stories about true crime and abuse and neglect, and you have your own war stories. Because I could spin a story here on this live stream that I prefer not to. But I know all about abuse. I know all about neglect, child neglect, grooming, physical abuse. And I have to speak candidly. There comes a point when you have to own the part you play. That you can't continue to make excuses for an abuser. You cannot keep seeking shelter with an abuser, aiding them, conspiring with them, upholding them. You have to call a spade, because then you are being looped into this nonsense of, well, how far will I go in aiding an abuser? This case is prime example, with or without children. If you're going to ride the ride of being abused by somebody and keep using the excuse that you're in love, you love them, how far are you willing to go to carry the torch for this person? This case is a prime example of riding the ride. I'm watching him beat the kid. I'm watching him abuse the kid. He's doing it in front of my children. Other people are eyewitnesses. Now I'm a witness to him unaliving the kid, and now I'm carrying the torch along with him all the way until the very end, until my life was at stake, my livelihood. Now I got to tell on him. It's the only reason why this story is out. It's because Kayla Montgomery got arrested for food stamp fraud. Had she never gotten arrested, she would have never told on him. And that's my take on this case. I feel sorry for the children because they have to grow up hearing this nonsense via the news, YouTube, social media. And they have to now live with knowing what their parents did. All the parents. Harmony's mother, that other baby boy, Kayla, all of this, all these children by Kayla and Adam, they have to grow up and hear all these nasty details that they came from the womb of such foolishness. The father planted the seed. These are your parents in jail, prison, for not having any empathy for life. And then you have to worry that Jesus, I hope I don't carry this gene out into the universe. And I don't carry their deviant ways, because we have learned from genetics, sins of the father, of the mother. Later in life, the children end up getting into trouble. They end up walking in the same path as the parents, or they end up getting involved with people like their parents. And we have learned this with being human. We tend to choose people who mirror our parents, our abusers. Imagine that. If we don't become them, then we choose people like them. That's a cruel joke when you think about it. I don't drink, I don't get high, I don't use drugs, but I go lay with a drug addict, alcoholic. My mom and daddy was a drug addict, alcoholic, and then I go choose to get wrapped up with one. I don't use the drugs, but I'm laying with one. Or now I'm an addict, alcoholic. See where I'm going? You've left nothing. Is it the universe just coming back around, boomerang effect? I don't know. That's a scary thought. And I got a feeling that all these people we're discussing were possibly abused or in a house of abuse and neglect. So then I have to ask that about Kayla. What was her mother like? You testifying and talking, but who are you? Because what did you subject your child to for her to end up in this situation with children and an eyewitness to a murder? Who are you? Where's her father? Stay woke. Where is Adam's father? Where's his mother? Now, Harmony's mother, biological mother, Missouri, where are her parents? How did they raise her? Don't you see? It's an intricate web. And it just keeps multiplying and multiplying, the abuse, the neglect, to where now we have children we have to pray don't end up like these people. Now we hear that Missouri is living a better life. They didn't really go into details because you ain't really ask her, are you currently using drugs right now? Because that's what I would ask, not to be offensive, but sometimes the DA and the defense will sugarcoat questioning as not to offend the person because they see they're in a bad situation of having a dead child. So they don't want to just, go for the jugular. But you do need to ask, where do you live now? Do you have adequate housing, home? Are you currently using drugs, alcohol? Are you clean? I'd ask. Because the public will want to know that. Are you clean now? When was the last time you used drugs, alcohol? Do you have a home in your name on the lease, deed, lease? Stay woke. Hell, do you plan to have more children? Because I'm sure some of you are asking that. Kayla will get out of prison one day. She'll still probably be able to give birth. Will she have another child once free? Missouri, will she have another child? Because they can still conceive now. They're not older. They're not the queen's age. And I'm going to be honest with you. That would be a scary thought. Either female conceiving. Each going back into the belly of the beast, getting with another drug addict. Or irresponsible adult, male. Because sometimes old habits die hard. And you hear this a lot with women who have been wrapped up in drug abuse, alcoholism, and fooling with men who are violent. They keep repeating the same mistakes. And maybe they honestly try, but they keep attracting the same demon over and over until something else jumps off. And frankly, I wouldn't even be in the company of anybody that used drugs. Used or sold. I'll pass. It's a lesson learned, indeed. But this was a heavy price. Having a child unalive by her own father. And this is why I asked the question. Does Kayla actually have remorse for what happened to Harmony? Does she regret meeting this man? Does she regret holding on and staying at the cost of her livelihood and her children's lives being taken from her to where she can't raise them. Same thing with the mother of Harmony. Do you have regrets in using drugs and not straightening your life out and meeting this man? And now she's no longer alive, your girl child. Do you have regrets? And are you living a better life now? Because sadly, this could be a repeat. And I've seen people personally who have dealt with their children not being in their care, raised by other people in the state, so on and so forth, and they still go day for day, living the same ho-hum, jacked up existence because they refuse to change. And that's even more devastating than this situation with a child unalived. Never rearing the children, having more children, still more drama with children, or favoritism with treating these children better than the ones you had, and then, or never changing. I see it all the time. It just doesn't end up a news story and a YouTube video. But as I've told many of you, I know many people who have not been raised by their parents. Many people have war stories of not being properly raised. Grandparents didn't do a good job. Aunt, foster care, whatsoever. And then they go off. Some did well in life and some did not. Some still had some falls along the way, but bettered themselves down the road. But then you have the flip side of those who had this jacked up existence like Harmony had. And then now they're grown. They're 40, 50, and their life is no better than it was when they were 2 and 3 and 5. And that's the sad part. No chance at victory because they continued to make mistakes. I don't know if you all want to finish listening to this commentary or not. If not, I will end this live stream and we will discuss another story. But this is a sad tale. Because as I said, I never discussed this story about Harmony. I just chose not to. But it piqued my interest, the court TV segment of the testimony by Kayla. So that's the only reason why I decided to do a live stream and put up the polls. But as I said, I do believe she would have never told on Adam had she not gotten arrested. And I think she is only crying for herself that she's in this predicament of being incarcerated. Now, she could have remorse. I don't want to be so cruel to say she doesn't have remorse. Maybe she does. Maybe she realized I made a mistake. I can't take it back. I didn't save that child. I saw the abuse way before that incident in that car, and I did nothing. Because I don't believe the abuse started right at Thanksgiving. Nah. Because the uncle told that already. Child Ben had a black eye. So the abuse had been going on. And I won't doubt she possibly was being abused as soon as he got custody of her. But see, that's the whole thing about life. You can't go back. You can't go back. Lord have mercy. That's my commentary. I'm going to stop it right there. Because it gets gruesome and graphic, and I did enough of that talking about the young lady in the sofa scenario down in Louisiana. You feel free to go into YouTube Q to hear the rest of the commentary of what happened with the shuffling of the child after being unalived in the car. Feel free to comment below this video and on the polls on my community page. But this is a diabolical story. This is a story that should have never happened. But as I said, everybody has a start, and that's from the womb. That's from the parents. And sadly, this child didn't have a chance. And sadly, there are other stories just like Harmony Montgomery's, and there are other children who are in the midst of this type of dynamic, and it's only a matter of time we will be hearing the same about them. And that's what's even more dreadful, is waiting to see the news break of another missing kid, another abused kid, another grown-up found neglected by her parents. I still want to do a continuation of that sofa incident down in Louisiana. Where was the help for her? And she was an adult. but she was neglected by her parents. Almost a 40-year-old woman found emaciated in her own waist in a sofa. You can't make this stuff up. Like, share, subscribe, drop your comments below. Thank you for joining me. If you'd like to donate to this great network, $McAngie, 129 Cash App. Stickers and chats always welcome to the live stream. Prayers for justice for this little girl. Prayers the father never sees daylight. And I do believe that Kayla deserves more time in prison. I can't just bank on she feared for her safety, because it went on too long, the relationship between she and Adam there after the death of the baby, the murder of the baby. So she had too many opportunities where she could have left him, freed herself and her children, and told the truth. And she chose not to, and only told when it benefited her. So that shows you didn't have the remorse for the baby then, and possibly you don't have remorse now. And in the end, it's between she and God if she has remorse for what she conspired and stayed in. Thank you for joining me. Y'all have a wonderful afternoon, and I will be back with more stimulating content and commentary. You've been listening to The Vault. Exhale. Thank you.